RCWR Show with Lee Sanders is intended for a mature audience only. The following is an Infinity One Productions presentation, keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive. Covering the latest in wrestling and beyond since 2011. You're listening to the RCWR Show. Now, your host, live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
Hey, what is going on, good kind people? Lee Sanders here. You're checking out an all-new RCWR show for Monday night of April 19th, 2021. I cannot believe the month of April is almost in the books. I mean, I know we're at the midway point in April, but man, I tell you what, at least for me, 2021 has just been, we are just trucking along at a rather rapid rate. I don't know how it is for you guys, but it's definitely going pretty quick over here at my end. Welcome. Glad to be back with you all. I had went on a nice extended vacation after we were done with our WrestleMania coverage. Remember, we did 8 consecutive nights of WrestleMania coverage. We had all different types of shows that you guys were able to check out all week long, every single day of that week. So if you weren't able to join us every single night, pretty much while I was on vacation, it was your opportunity to catch up on all the shows that you might have missed. And I tell you what, it was very interesting. It was very interesting just having the whole week off, because I did find myself checking out a couple of wrestling shows here and there. But for the most part, I just took it easy. I just enjoyed my time off, catching up on some stuff around the house, trying to make some last minute final preparations for the wedding, trying to get the information together for when it's time for me to go get fitted for my tux. You know, it was just nice getting lost in non-wrestling related things and just mentally give myself that nice decompressing, you know, because I tell you, every single year after I do stuff like that, every single night, I do need to have that break where I can just recharge, reset myself, and pretty much become refreshed as a result. So it was nice. But I did see some of the things that was going on in the world of wrestling, you know, even though I wasn't doing any shows, and it was ooh. Okay, let's get some more information on that. I want to patiently see how that's going to play out. Okay, give me some more. What's going on here? So we got a nice loaded up show for you guys tonight. Hey, we're streaming live on multiple platforms. We're streaming on the Facebook. We got the Twitch. We've got the Twitter. We've got the YouTube. Just use the keywords, the RCWR Show. But loads to get into. Look. And we don't even need to go all overkill with regards to AEW Dark Elevation tonight, nor do we need to go all overkill about WWE RAW tonight, because to be perfectly honest with you guys, both shows were rather lacking. They were rather lacking. I honestly found myself going through the motions watching both shows tonight. I found myself at many points just... it's on, but I'm not really watching it. That's how it was for me, honestly. So, but we'll definitely talk about Raw. We'll definitely talk about AEW Dark Elevation. A whole lot of stuff that we're definitely going to be getting into. I do have to talk briefly later on in the show. I will offer you guys my thoughts about what I think is going to happen with that Chauvin trial. I won't be long-winded with that, but I know there's probably some of you guys that are wondering, you know, what do I think? How do I think that's all gonna, you know, play itself out and everything? I'll definitely sound off about that, but it's great to be back. I feel very refreshed. I gotta tell you, going into the weekend, I was feeling like some shit, and the reason why, I got hit up. Did I get hit up, or did I happen to check my email? Which one was it? It was actually, I checked my email. So let me set this story up properly for you guys. So about I want to say probably this past Wednesday while I was on vacation, something said, check your inbox. So I'm checking my inbox because normally, I get business opportunities, people that want to do some ad slots on the show, they'll hit me up, people that are in need of some voiceover work or whatever. Sometimes I'll even get people that maybe are interested in coming on the show, for an interview or whatever. And then at that point, it's kind of like, well, does this really apply to the audience and all that? So I'm usually on top of my emails and everything. But Wednesday, something said, check your email. So I'm checking my email and I'm not, like, nothing's in here. But then something goes, all right, well, you checking your email, nothing in the primary. Check your junk. I'm like, okay, I'll check my junk. So I check my junk. I don't see anything in my junk joint. So joint goes, okay, check your unwanted mail. For me, I actually have primary, junk, and then unwanted. So I go into my unwanted joint. And lo and behold, I see something that should have been in my primary. And what I see in my unwanted is my COVID vaccination appointment link. And my mind is just blown because I had been looking for this since about the first week of April. And it's like, okay, it's not here yet. It's not here yet. What's going on? It's not here yet. What's up? And we get to about April 10th. I'm going, it's not here yet. Okay, I don't know what's going on. Hopefully they'll get me at least 4 days before or whatever. I'm trying to remember the information that was given to me from the very first email after I had got my first dose of the vaccination. So I'm like, what the hell? So I open it up. I'm like, making sure this is it's legit. I'm like, okay, why did this go here? What the fuck? So I click on that bad boy. They're like, hey, it's your turn. You got to get your second dose. Click on this link. I'm like, okay, all right, cool. So obviously, at the time that I'm looking at this, now here's where it gets really, really funny. So again, I'm seeing this email on like April 14th, right? This is where it gets hilarious. It turns out this email was sent to me on April 6th. Now think about that. I'm going, oh my God. And dude, I was so glad I clicked on that link and I just kind of listened to my instincts when I did. And I kept checking all the other folders because originally I wasn't even going to do it. Originally, I was just going to just check the primary and just be done with it. But something said, check all of them. So because had I waited an extra day, that link they sent me to schedule myself for an appointment, it would have became invalid. It would have became invalid. Those of you that have scheduled yourselves successfully for your COVID vaccine shots, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Those links expire after a while. So I was happy when I had clicked on that bad boy. Clicked on it. I was a little mad because I didn't get the times that I had did last time when I was like, okay, I'm looking at my phone. I'm connected to all my devices. I ain't going to miss no email. And boom. I got my shit. I was able to get the earliest time possible. So, because I ended up going at like 8 in the morning for the first shot. So this go round, the free times were not available until, because everything was booked until a little bit after 11:30 in the morning. I'm like, okay, cool. So I went on ahead, I booked it. And I told my girl what was up. I'm like, hey, like this Friday, we got to go get my shot. She's like, oh, yeah? I'm like, yeah, bet. Like, we got to go get my shot. I'm like, nothing for you yet. Because I had been staying on top of her to get her vaccinations as well, especially since she's getting the itch to do the traveling and all that again. I'm waiting patiently for press passes to open back up so that, we can talk to our people over there at AwesomeCon, let them know we want to come cover them again so we can get our credentials for that and everything. So, I'm telling her, I'm like, look, I hear you on all these things that you're trying to do and everything, but in order to really be able to do all of these things, first thing you got to be thinking about is your health, and you definitely want to be vaccinated. What's going on? Like, why are you pussyfooting around this? What's going on with you? And she was a little bit intimidated. She was a little bit scared. So, it did help her seeing not only me, amongst our family here. It helped her a lot seeing me get my vaccination and then seeing what I was experiencing and everything. And then her own mom getting the vaccination, her best friend getting the vaccination. And so that pretty much, oh, okay, I'm all right, let's do it. And so I actually had set her up a couple of times to get her vaccination. I signed her up three times with three different email addresses over the course of about a month to get her vaccination. Because the first email that we went with, sign up and everything, we ain't get nothing. I'm like, okay, I'm like, you're in the healthcare industry. You have direct contact with patients. You definitely should be given like elevated urgency, as far as being elevated on that list. You definitely should be getting the hookup. Because for me, when I did it, I mean, it was just, I probably waited about maybe a week tops. And then boom, I was able to get my shit. And I think part of the reason was because not only was not only was I doing work as an essential worker, but also because I'm a type 2 diabetic. So they probably looked at that combination and said, oh, yeah, we need to elevate this guy. We need him to go get his shot. Yeah, so I think that's probably what had happened. So the fact that she wasn't elevated, after I set her up for that first joint, I'm like, okay, this is weird. So I signed her up a second time. And we're waiting, for a couple of weeks to go by and nothing is happening. We don't get anything. I'm checking the inboxes. Nothing is happening. And I actually had set her up. I want to say I set her up. Maybe it was last Monday or Tuesday. I had set her up. And this past weekend, we finally had got the email for her. And so that made me ecstatic, because on the third time I did it, and then finally it just fucking kicked in. I'm like, okay, good. So we got her set up and everything. So I'll come back to the missus a little later, but so Friday, we went out, we got me my second COVID shot. I was feeling pretty confident. I'm like, okay, well, you know what? The worst has to be over, because I went through all the shit that I went through with the first vaccine. I should be good on this second one. So we started off good. I mean, the transition, man, the experience that we went to was a completely different site. And when you went to this site, all they were doing was the second vaccination shots. That's all they were doing. And so, it was so well organized. There wasn't even a line. There wasn't even a delay. You pretty much were just able to park your car, walk in that son of a bitch, drop your name. Okay, yeah, you're on the list. Okay, so just go ahead, follow this line right here. Stay on that side of the line. You'll get directed where you need to go. Like, okay, cool. Everything was just bam, 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 bam. I got my shot in like, Jesus, from the moment I walked in the building to when I sat down at the table to get my shot, it must have taken me at least under 2 minutes tops. I'm not exaggerating. It's like 2 minutes tops. Get my shot. Friendly motherfuckers too, man. It wasn't like how it was last time, where I told you y'all remember, it was, disorganized. And then I had some asshole nurse, who's she was kind of talking to me like I was stupid. And I don't like that. It's like, hey, if you don't like what you're doing, you don't really like change your scenery, right? But she just, I don't know, she just came off like a bitch. Even the way, I know this is going to sound funny to you guys, but even the way she gave me the injection, she gave it to me like an asshole. She gave it to me like a bitch. And it was like, man, you're an asshole. You're just a total asshole. But yeah, friendly customer service. Everything was just awesome. Great experience. This go round, I went into the observation area. I didn't do that last time, right? So you can say shame on me, but I didn't do that last time. So this time, I'm like, okay, we're going to do the observation area. We're going to make sure, as far as any side effects, anything weird going on, like, this is the time. Because once I walk out of these doors, I'm pretty much on my own. So we're sitting there, we're chatting it up for like about 15, 20 minutes, just bullshitting around. I don't feel shit. I feel good. We run a couple of errands. I would say probably about 2 hours after I got that shot, just about 2 hours, I started feeling funky. And so I say to my girl, I say, you know what? Let's go get something to eat because I'm starting to feel a little funky. And she's like, okay, is it your diabetes? And I'm like, I can't, I'm not sure. Like it's rare I can say to somebody my diabetes is acting up or now something else is going on. I wasn't sure what was going on. So I kind of felt like, okay, let's try eating. So had a nice dinner. Well, lunch rather. No, it was actually dinner. It was actually dinner, even though it was early in the afternoon. For me, it was dinner because I usually like to eat a big meal early in the day, get hungry later on in the evening. I like to have a piece of fruit or yogurt. I'm trying to get into my tux, man. So that's what's going on with me. So I would say rest of the day, I was good. I was good. Felt a bit of a headache and all that. I was feeling good. Now you fast forward about 8 hours later, same day. So basically, probably like by about 9, 10 o'clock at night, I started to feel like shit. My left arm was starting to get real fucking sore. I could barely move it. It wasn't as bad as the last time. I mean, I had, full range motion, but it was hurting. Definitely nice big swelling that was going on. I was feeling it. I mean, it was tight like a motherfucker. And then the next thing you know, I started to have aches, chills, everything that I had documented the very first go round that I got my shot, the first shot, everything that was going on then, I got it again with the second shot. So all of that, nausea, diarrhea, and this was with the Moderna vaccination. For those of you that didn't check out the first go round with my experience, this was the Moderna one. So, and it was so interesting because everybody that I spoke to, including coworkers, when I asked them, hey, how was your symptoms? Anything? And they were like, nah, I just had my arm was kind of hurting a little bit, but I was good. And when I told them what was going on with me, they were like, wait, really? You had all that going on? I'm like, yeah. And for some of them, it was like, oh man, you had the good shit. If I'd have had the good shit, like you had, oh man, I'd have been missing work for a couple of days. I was like, well, I didn't miss work. But somehow, I soldiered through it. But did I have any business being at work? No. And I had to go to work just like last time. This go round, I went to work the next day. And man, did I fucking regret that shit. I told my girl, I said, look, I'm gonna need you on standby because I'm feeling like shit. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to hold up. Like, I'll keep you posted. Like, right now, I'm staying hydrated as I can. I wasn't eating any food. I didn't want to look at food. Just the sight of it, the smell. I didn't want to have nothing to do with it because I was already feeling nauseous and all that shit. I don't know how I got through my my work on Saturday, but somehow I got through it. And my girl picked me up. I really wasn't much for conversation. We pretty much got home. She actually forced me to eat something because when I told her I didn't eat anything all day, she was like, no, you gotta eat something. It's like you gotta try to keep your strength up. I'm like, okay. So I had a little small bite to eat. I don't even remember what it was. It was something very small though. Nothing heavy at all. Knowing me, it was probably some yogurt, maybe a piece of fruit. That's probably what I did. And I just got under the covers and I'm telling you, the whole weekend, even today, I probably slept about a total of 15 hours straight each go round. So the last little bit that was going on in my system, I was able to pretty much flush it out, I would say, earlier today. 'Cause it's weird because normally when I have a day off and everything, I usually like to be moving around the house, doing different shit and everything. I was still feeling a little bit like shit earlier this morning. I had enough energy to put the trash out, take the dog out, get into bed, and I just fucking slept all the way until it was time for me to go to my class. And, luckily it's an evening class, but I like anytime I'm able to sleep until my alarm for class goes off, that's a bad thing because I'm usually up hours before and I'm just kicking back at that point. I'm doing some last minute prepping. I'm going over, emails, things of that nature. I'm going in the studio, I'm getting myself set up. I usually enter the classroom virtually about 15-20 minutes early because I actually like to talk to my professor and classmates and shit. And I slept all the way until literally it was time for me to get in front of the computer. Class is about to begin, right? But when I woke up earlier today, I woke up finally feeling like, okay, I'm not getting my ass kicked anymore by this second shot. Like I'm good again. So yeah, that's pretty much. I know that's kind of weird, right? Because there's so many that has had the Moderna shot or the Pfizer shot, and they don't have these fucking symptoms. And as I was trying to explain to my girl, I said, I'm speculating, but maybe because I don't do like most people. I don't get the yearly flu vaccine shot. I don't do that. The way I take care of a cold or a flu, I'm always just going with the NyQuil, the Mucinex. Very seldom do I get sick. Out of a whole calendar year, I will probably get sick maybe twice a year, guaranteed. Guaranteed twice a year. Otherwise, I mean, that's pretty rare. That's a good batting average when you think about it. Wait a minute, out of 12 months, 365 days out of the year, and you're only getting sick twice? Okay, yeah, that's actually pretty damn good. And like the only time I will go to a doctor is if like I've tried the NyQuil, I've tried everything, and the shit ain't working, and I need them to give me some stronger shit. Now, in my entire life, that's only happened twice. Only twice that has happened. So maybe because I haven't been one of those type of people that normally goes in, gets the yearly flu vaccination, maybe you could say that's why I kind of felt what I was feeling when I got both of those shots. I don't know, but results will vary. So, I kept telling my girl, I said, you definitely want to go into this. You want to make sure that, you give yourself a day off from work just so that if anything weird happens, and I told her straight up, I said, look, I said, heaven forbid, you're a couple of hours into your shift the day you get your vaccine and you start feeling weird. What are you going to do? You're stuck at work. Nobody will cover for you. Nobody will, right? Because everybody's home and they're just trying to get ready for the next shift, tomorrow. Like, nobody's going to cover you. Like, not even upper management's going to come. Like, so you're fucked. What are you going to do for driving? Right? It's like, and we kind of thought about that. It's like, okay, well, worst case scenario, I could easily come to the job, drive us home. That wouldn't be a problem. It's like, but you still, like, what do you do during that shift if it fucking hits you the way that it hits me? So because she really didn't want to take the day off. That's the point that I'm making. She really did not want to take the day off, but I can't stress it to you guys. And look, I know we're in a rough economy right now and everything, but you got to be thinking about your health and your well-being before anything else. When you get this opportunity to take the shot, you want to put yourself in a position where you're giving yourself that day off from work the next day, just to make sure if there's anything weird that's going on. Trust me, there's nothing more scarier than when you have the symptoms that I just described to you, to the point that you feel like you're about to maybe pass out. And you're trying to do your best to stay hydrated, not move that much, put very little energy into whatever you're doing, because you just fear something weird might happen or whatever. Like, you don't want to be at work having all of those things going on. So please do your very best to keep all of that in mind. If you can put yourself in a position where you can have yourself a day off from work just for observation, make sure everything's in the clear, fucking do it. If you can work it out with your boss and the boss is like, yeah, cool, totally understand. As long as you got your documents handy, everything's good to go. Fucking do what you got to do. Better to be safe than sorry, I always say. I see the bullshit that's going on too with the J&J. We should know something by Friday. Hopefully just what's going on with that what is it, like 8 cases where like 8 people died or something like that. Blood clouds basically. I have a feeling that's going to resume. I mean, think about it. You think about the gazillions of people that have gotten that J&J vaccine, and there's only been 8. I mean, yeah, I know for older people, the boomers particularly, they're probably going to look at that. Those that may be, I don't really want to do shit like that. That's going to boost their hesitancy even more, I would imagine. But as far as my prediction and all that, I think they're going to resume the J&J. I know they're going to have an official announcement on that. I think Dr. Fauci said this Friday. This Friday, they were going to give a new update. If you ask me for my prediction, it's April 19th right now. They're talking about making an announcement on Friday the 23rd. I'm going to say probably, I would not be surprised if maybe starting effective April 26th, they resume the J&J vaccines. We'll see what happens. Either the week of the 26th or the week of the 3rd. We'll see what happens, man. But yeah, that's pretty much what was going on with me while I was also on vacation. So yeah, good fun fucking times right there. I'm just glad it's over. Of course, now I'm probably most likely gonna have to get the booster shots. As doesn't matter who you got, 9 times out of 10, there's gonna be like a yearly vaccination. Like a booster shot that you're going to have to get yearly, like the flu, that we're all going to have to do, And I know for some people, like when they hear this, I don't care about that. I want my wrestling. Well, you know what? There's more to life than wrestling. There's the real world. And at some point, you and I, we've got to face that shit. And we got to make sure that if we haven't done our fucking parts already as human beings to fucking kick this pandemic in the ass, so that we can get back to how we were before this shit goes down. You feel where I'm coming from? So, forgive me if I'm a little bit lengthy about this, but, I'm very passionate about it. I want life the way it was before this shit had went down. I'm sure everybody has their own story, but, for me personally, seeing a lot of my friends, a lot of my family members, people I respect in certain industries lose their fucking job and all that because of this fucking pandemic, it fucking sucks. It fucking sucks. Their whole fucking world as they knew it just flipped upside down. So I want to get back to that sense of normalcy again. And I tell you what, man, seeing what we got at WrestleMania a couple of weeks ago with the fans and attendance, I would imagine most of those fans, they did their part in making sure they got their shots way in advance before coming out there and everything. And then on top of that, doing what they could as far as safety precautions, the mask and all of that. I'm sure a lot of them had honestly, went there and they did their part to the best of their ability, but yeah, fucking do your part. If you haven't done your fucking part already, do your fucking part. Use your social media platforms, encourage your friends, your family, your followers to join, to fall in and do their fucking part as well, because together, kind of like much like what went down with 9/11, together we can pretty much kick any fucking body's ass when we're united. So have that in mind. Wrestling wise, I don't really have much to say about Raw tonight. Or AEW Dark Elevation. I'll tell you what, let's go with AEW Dark Elevation for starters. I'll talk a little bit about that, and then we can make our way to talking about Raw for this evening. I watched Dark, and that for me was, I was going through the motions watching that show. I was really, really trying to do my best to get into the episode, and I just could not, for the love of me. Here's the matches that had played out, and AEW Dark Elevation was on for like about an hour. I think it was about like an hour and 45 minutes or something like that. Heyman Page taking on Spencer Slade, which pretty much was a squash match. Like, okay, moving along. Private Party versus the Dark Order's Alex Reynolds, Colt Cabana. Britt Baker was in action. I forgot the opponent that she faced, but that was another squash match, essentially. Orange Cassidy took on and defeated Prince Kai. Jurassic Express took on Midas Black, Jay Lion. Alright. Thunder Rosa. Now, this was a treat for me. I love seeing my girl Thunder Rosa. We got some news about her later on during the show. Thunder Rosa was in action. She took on and defeated Shauna Reed. Actually, was an okay match. I actually didn't mind that one. Layla Hirsch and Ryo Mizunami taking on Nyla Rose and Madi Wernkowski. I ain't care for that. I ain't care for that. Look, man, I'm glad that as far as wrestling goes, white, black, gay, straight, transgender, drag, short, tall, I'm glad that, man, everybody is welcome. It's a beautiful thing. I fucking love it. I love it. No complaints. But you ask me personally, I'm sorry. I can't really get down with midget wrestling. I can't really get down with the midget wrestling. I've never been a fan of the midget wrestling. And for me, Layla Hirsch, Ryo Mizunami, buzzkill for me. So I really couldn't get into that. I know some of you guys hear that. You're probably going to be hating. Please don't take it personal. Look, if you come across a really good match from these girls that you feel, nah, man, this will really change your perspective, Lee. This will really make you go out of your way and just be like, fuck their heights. Look at this. You're more than welcome to show it to me. You're more than welcome to post a link, show it to me. I'll check it out. But like right now, I can't get into it. I can't get into that. Sorry, cannot get into it. Best Friends took on Kit Sackett and Hayden Backlund. No. I think I had Undisputed on at that point. Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page took on Dean Alexander, Charlie Bravo. Not bad for what I saw. That wasn't too bad. Austin Gunn taking on Aaron Solo. That one was all right as well. Main event match, Kenny Omega, Takashita, and MT Nakazawa took on Danny Limelight, Mike Sydal, and Matt Sydal, Sydal brothers. That was your main event. I think the biggest problem that I had with regards to Dark Elevation tonight was the fact that, and it's something that, like, when I have been watching here and there, there's been a lack of continuing storylines. Now, we did have the whole QT Marshall. He popped up with his boys and was watching them in action and everything. And at that point, it was actually pretty funny reading through the comments live on YouTube, which at one point, the peak that I saw for the YouTube stream, y'all can back me up on this, that were watching it live, the peak was 17,000. So, that's pretty decent. That was pretty decent for a Monday and everything. That's pretty decent. Off of a weekend, pretty decent. Was expecting it to be a little bit higher, but it was good. It was good. But like, it was funny in particular when I was seeing the joint with QT Marshall and he's watching his boys and everything. You got people in the comment section that were saying, QT Marshall is so scary as a bad guy. Oh man, he's so scary. And I'm like, I just couldn't help but laugh my ass off. And as this match was playing, I'm trying to think what was the opener for Raw at this point when that particular spot was on. It's possible Drew McIntyre might have been just opening up the show and he was mouthing off while QT Marshall was doing his thing. It's possible that's what was going on, but I just couldn't help it but chuckle at that spot. But yeah, just the continuation of some of the main story arcs we've been seeing play out on Dynamite. I kind of wish there was a little bit of that. Oh, forgive me. I got to disconnect something real quick here. Bear with me. And come on. Damn, that bitch ain't coming out. Hang on, guys. There we go. Yeah, that was just, just see a main continuation, that can go over the dark, that could also go over because you got Dark and then Dark Elevation, that could start at Dark Elevation, continue into Dark, and then be full blown on Dynamite. I would really like that. I'm not saying you got to do all your main story arcs, but just do a couple, like, you know, the QT Marshall thing. Let's flush that out a lot more. We got Christian Cage back. Okay, you know what? Let's flush Christian Cage out a little bit more. You feel where I'm coming from? Like, some of these things we just need to really be flushing out a lot more. If we're gonna have Nyla Rose be doing her thing on the dark joints, then okay, let's kind of flush her out a little bit more as well. Let's take that Jade Cargill girl, let's flush her out a little bit more. What's going on with my girl Sunny Kiss? You know, what's going on with that, right? Like, we should be doing a lot more with Sunny Kiss. You know, I know Sunny Kiss, you know, doing their thing with education and all that, you know, education first. You know, hey, I mean, I'm doing what I'm doing as far as education goes, so nothing surpasses that, right? You know, education first, health, well-being, family, all that good shit. But like, we should be doing a lot more to flush out some of these characters and some of these story arcs. So that's probably been one of my biggest takeaways from seeing Dark Elevation right now. It's almost kind of put me in a position where I just go, okay, well, you know what? I don't particularly care for Dark Elevation. You know, if I had to choose, then at this point, since I'm really not missing anything on Dark, it would appear, then I'm just going to go on ahead and, you know, I'll check out the Tuesday Dark, right? Fuck Elevation. I'll go ahead and check out Dark on Tuesday instead, right? So I think at this point, the way to go about Elevation, you know, is to first ask yourself, okay, well, what's the card? And then from there, I think you would just have to cherry pick. Okay, well, is there anybody in particular that I care to see that's going to be on Elevation for this week? And then maybe watch it just so you can see those cats, and then just, you know, but yeah, you know, I like Dark more than Elevation. I know Paul White is trying to find his way, you know, with commentating with Chauvin, but, you know, he's not giving me anything that is honestly desirable. Much like I've done the past couple of times now, I've had Elevation on mute. You know, I got the closed captioning going. I'm not, you know, I get entertainment reading the chat, the YouTube chat, and having the closed captioning going while I've got music playing in the background and I'm just, you know, playing on my tablet or whatever. You know, I get more kicks out of that than actually hearing the commentating. Now, however, and I think that's something we all could be in agreement of, when it comes to Dark on Tuesdays, Excalibur and Taz, they are awesome. They are a great 1-2 punch as far as commentating goes. I love it. Them, I will actually unmute them. I don't have captioning on for them. I actually will listen to them. I'll still have music playing, but I'll have it dimmed down a little bit low so I can hear them. Yeah, they're good. And I don't know, Dark just has an entirely different feel to it and everything. You definitely stick around more, you're more engaged. I don't know what it is. I can't quite put my finger on it, but from the commentating on down, it just seems to be better than what's happening on Elevation right now. But yeah, that's pretty much what's going on with that. Let's see what else we got here. So that's Dark. That's Dark Elevation. Raw. Oh my God. Where do I begin with Raw? Where do I begin with Raw? I'm not doing a full-blown review, so we can forget about that right now. I do like the fact that the show opened up with Drew McIntyre. I did think that was very strong because remember, one of the last times that we saw Drew McIntyre was at the end of Monday Night Raw. You know, he wins that, what was it, a 3-way or whatever. And he's looking on as he hears the music of Lashley, but MVP comes out. He's wondering what's going on there. He's thinking maybe Lashley's going to attack him from behind, but he gets attacked by Mace and T-Bar, former members of Retribution, and that pretty much sent us off the air. So it was great seeing a fired up Drew McIntyre come out, trying to get answers, trying to address that controversy from last week. MVP coming out. and saying to Drew, hey, as far as what Mason T-Bar had did, we weren't behind that, because as you experienced firsthand at WrestleMania, Lashley didn't need no help to take you out. He pretty much was able to beat you by himself. Remember, he put you in that full Nelson slam, and made you fall asleep. Right? So that was MVP's, whole argument and everything. While at the same time congratulating McIntyre on the victory. Lashley can't wait to beat him again at WrestleMania Backlash. Drew wonders if MVP is really going to, stand there and say to him that Mason T-Bar had nothing to do with him as far as the attack that went down last week and everything. And MVP doubles down. He's like, zero affiliation with the Hurt Business. Zero affiliation. So that kind of got Drew into thinking, well, maybe, just maybe, we can kind of settle whatever's going on between us as men. And bam, right then and there, Mason T-Bar attacked him again. MVP looking on, not helping worth a damn. If anything, MVP just observes. After he sees McIntyre get his ass beat, he pretty much makes his exit. Mason T-Bar make their exit. Notice they all didn't make their exit as a cohesive... Whoa, as a cohesive unit there. That was loud. They did not make their exit together there, right? As a unit. So, fired up, Drew McIntyre goes backstage and finds Adam Pearce. Says he wants a match with T-Bar and Mace. Doesn't give a damn if it's a handicap match. He wants both of those guys. Give him what he wants. Pearce, very concerned. Hey, you don't have a tag partner. McIntyre doesn't care about a tag partner. He just wants the match to go down. So that pretty much was our setup. We did see that match play out later on in the night. It was Mason T-Bar taking on Drew McIntyre. You're wondering when you're seeing this, okay, is it really going to just be a 2-on-1 handicap match here? What the hell? Eventually, Braun Strowman decided to insert himself into this match. I'm not really sure how I feel about that, to be perfectly honest with you. And it's from only this standpoint. It's from the standpoint of, okay, I get that Drew McIntyre was talking some shit there about Braun. Braun kind of, talked a little shit too and everything, but okay, but I'm just trying to play him in my mind. Okay, so Retribution, what did they do to Braun Strowman? I don't recall Retribution doing anything within recent weeks. Just this go around and everything. Like, I haven't recalled Retribution doing something to Braun Strowman that would make him. So for me, it was just kind of one of those, okay, I'm scratching my head here. This doesn't really make any sense. For me, what really would have made a lot more sense would have been to see either Cedric Alexander or Shelton Benjamin as a tag partner for Drew McIntyre. It would have made a lot more sense. I mean, that would have been real simple. Drew McIntyre is backstage, and Shelton or Cedric, they both walk up to him. Hey, man, here you're going to be having this handicap match later on. You're going to be doing your thing out there against Mason T-Bar. Look, man, I know MVP had put what he said out there earlier in the night, but you can't put nothing past him. You gotta watch out for him, man. And look, we still got a receipt we need to cash as far as payback goes on Lashley and MVP. Won't you let us have your back? Yeah, I would have preferred to see that play out as opposed to Shelton and Cedric losing yet again for a consecutive week to the Viking Raiders. Viking Experience, whatever they want to call themselves. By the way, I saw everybody having a fucking aneurysm over the fact that the new WWE color commentator was calling them all kinds of different shit. He was corrected a couple of times, and he still kept calling them whatever he was calling them. I'm thinking to myself, the man, I mean, God, I'm just, whew. Could you imagine if social media as it is right now, could you just imagine if at the pinnacle that it's at right now, if it existed when Mike Adamle was the new Raw color commentator? Could you just imagine the field day social media as a whole would be having with Mike Adamle? Here is a guy that gave two shits not about wrestling, and this was just pretty much a Dick Ebersol move. This was pretty much Dick Ebersol reaching out to Vince McMahon. I need a favor. Let's do something with. And I guess the vision that Dick kind of had with Mike Adamle was, hey, Mike Adamle could be your Bob Costas of the WWE if you do this right. I think that's maybe what he was envisioning. And it just did not play out. Probably the one best thing that Mike Adamle gave us was the whole Kofi Kingston Jamaican me crazy. I thought that was pretty witty. You know, a little corny or whatever. But you know what? I thought it was cool to the point, you know, I was always kind of dumbfounded. That never actually turned into a t-shirt. I mean, we can do pancakes. We can do bootios. You know, we can do all kinds of, but we didn't do a Jamaican me crazy. Whatever, it's all good. But, you know, everybody's just so quick to throw this new color commentator under the bus. Like I said from last week, y'all got to give this man some time. Give the man time. You know, look, no bullshit. I keep waiting for him to say, Curry for 3. Yeah, you know, I mean, he sounds like he's getting ready to do a basketball play, like at any moment. Right? I'm waiting for it. So I have to keep reminding myself, you know, he's wrestling. He's pro wrestling. You know, he's got Corey Graves. He's got Byron Saxton. You know, he's got two solid good guys there that's going to help him. And look, not for nothing, can we focus more on the positives rather than semi-negatives? You know, which is a thing that a lot of people are missing. They're missing the camaraderie that's going on between these three men. They're finding their little niche. They're finding their chemistry amongst each other. And I tell you what, I really had enjoyed it tonight. I actually listened good amount of the time. I listened with the audio on because I was trying to hear AV, as I like to call him. I was trying to hear him and hear how he was flowing and everything. And for me, the beautiful rib of the night came when Corey Graves said something along the lines to Byron Saxton, you know, says a guy that doesn't have a real girlfriend. All his girlfriends are made out of plastic or some shit like that. It was like the ultimate burn of the fucking night. I laughed hysterically. I loved it. I'm just trying to remind myself, damn, how did AV get the fuck out of that one? Because that was just an epic. But no, like, they've got good chemistry amongst each other. His timing is a lot better than last week. This week, to my estimation, there was only one segment where he kept talking, and he was still talking as Raw went into a commercial break. And I'm going, oh, like, dude, how'd you miss that? You know, but like little stuff like that, you know, he'll get better in time. And I mean, it's very easy for everybody to bitch and, you know, now look, change isn't easy for nobody. And I know at its core, you've got a lot of people that are very hurt about the fact that Samoa Joe is no longer in the WWE. We'll definitely talk about those WWE releases in a little bit. Pretty much as soon as we get done talking about Raw, honestly. That's like one of the first things we can get into. But, you know, if you're not holding that against Adnan's head, if you're not holding that over his head, good for you. Hopefully the way you're going about it is, you know, hey man, I just expect excellence when I watch my shows and, blah this, blah that. I mean, we've seen this happen time and time and time and time again. Just think about your favorite sport. Just think about your favorite fucking sport. I remember, no bullshit. This may surprise some people. But when it came to NFL Sunday, I loved hearing the team of Jim Nantz and Phil Simms. Loved that combination. I loved hearing those guys. Okay? Loved them. And when I first heard that Tony Romo got hired by CBS, I said, okay, well, this is good. But then I also said, okay, so hopefully this means that Tony, at least for a full season or something, he's going to be in that booth, and it's pretty much going to be a 3-man booth, right? So you're going to have basically 2 wise veterans that's, maybe going to be hanging out there with you're going to have 3 veterans, right? Total, really 2 football OGs that's going to be hanging out with the color commentator OG and Jim Nantz. I'm going, okay, so it's going to be a 3-man booth. Okay, cool. I was also kind of picturing, okay, well, maybe we might move Jim Nantz to the sidelines and he's getting information and all that other shit. I was picturing in some form, though, it was going to be this 3-man team. And when I first had found out that Phil Simms was no longer going to be with Jim Nantz, I got to tell you, I was pretty upset about it. I was damn upset about it, because it's almost like you've been drinking the same soda or you've been having the same cheeseburger at your favorite restaurant, the way you like it, just the way they cook it and everything. You've been having it every single weekend, every week, past 5 years or whatever. And then all of a sudden, the fucking menu don't changed, right? They don't went with a whole new recipe, or they don't offer it anymore. They're offering something else. And you're kind of like, whoa. And then the minute that Tony Romo had called his first game with Jim Nantz, I was like, oh, this dude got potential. Oh, okay, all right. I like what I'm hearing. Phil who? But then I couldn't help but go, yeah, but all those years of service to CBS, what are we going to do with Phil Simms? So it was nice to see that Phil Simms wasn't just totally kicked to the curb by CBS. They basically put him with the Today Show panel, NFL Today, on CBS panel. And, of course, he's doing the stuff on, what is it, Showtime? He's doing a little football show on Showtime with Jim Brown in them. So you're like, okay, cool. All right, this will work. I remember when the great Steve Buckhands, Phil Chenier, you guys that don't know anything about those 2 respected names, you got to be in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area to pretty much know about those names. But legendary basketball announce team. Legendary. Anytime a Wizards game was on and you had the option and you could pick up a televised joint where you get to listen to Buckhands and Chenier, that was your team that you went to. Those were the guys. Their chemistry was just, and the fact that they were friends in real life, pretty much what you were hearing from them on commentating is pretty much what you got of them, when they were away from calling the games. And man, I mean, so many iconic moments. I remember particularly when it came to Gilbert Arenas, when it was the Gilbert Arenas era for the Washington Wizards. Dagger! I mean, Steve Buckhands. I mean, he had legendary moments where, Dagger! And fucking calling card, man. And I'll never forget when Comcast Sportsnet, they decided, okay, you know what, we're gonna move in a different direction. Now, I can't remember if Phil Chenier like, I'm almost certain Phil Chenier was forced out. They didn't give Phil Chenier an opportunity to, play out his final contract and, give him a nice big proper send off and all that other shit. They just pretty much decided, we're not going to bring Phil Chenier back. So Steve Buckhands was pretty much flying with, I can't think of the woman's name. She was a basketball player, not to the level of, some of the legends from the WNBA. She ain't reached those kind of heights, but, she was, she did a little something in her time, and you're like, oh, okay. Now I remember when it came to that team, it was like, I felt there was potential, mainly for her, because you had Steve Buckhands. And if you got Steve Buckhands there, anything is possible. It's just going to take some time to kind of, fill each other out and, flush out that personality there, get that new chemistry going and everything. And then it started to seem like they were, starting to find a groove. And then all of a sudden, I'll never forget the infamous summer. Steve Buckhands, it was decided ultimately by Ted Leonsi. Remember Ted Leonsi, he owns the Washington Wizards, just like he owns the Washington Capitals. And ultimately, the powers that be decided, no, we're good. We don't need Steve Buckhands to come back. So rather than Steve Buckhands get a proper send-off, here's a guy way before Phil Chenier. Here's a guy that was calling the Wizard games. I mean, look up Steve Buckhands. I mean, him and Phil, I mean, they call Wizards games for a good minute. But Buckhands particularly, he was calling Wizard games like a couple of decades. And when they did what they did to Buckhands, everybody was fucking pissed. Everybody was pissed. Even if you knew the Wizards were going to have a shitty season, even if you knew, you still watched the games because Steve and Phil, they made the game so interesting. It was almost like you were just hanging out with two buddies, drinking beers and just watching the game. And the game's going shitty. The team ain't winning. Well, at least you got the good company that's going on here with Steve and Phil. It was almost kind of like one of those type of deals. But I'll never forget that. I'll never forget when they got rid of Buckhands. There were so many people that were upset. And when Buckhands went on record and had said, no, hey, this is what had happened, it made people even more upset. And they're like, well, what the fuck? And it had got a lot of people, including myself, saying to the guys on social media, look, take advantage of this new social media technology that's running around here. We're in the day and age now of podcasting. Like, you and Phil should just continue on, have a podcast. You guys will be very successful with it. All the stuff that y'all done for the business, calling the games, like, y'all got connections. Y'all can have guests and, all kinds of shit. And it took them a couple of months, but they ended up doing a podcast. It's something that I listen to when I get a free moment. It's actually pretty good. Check it out. Check it out when you get a chance. I think it's called On the Road with Steve and Phil. I believe that's what. Matter of fact, bear with me a second. Bear with me a second, because I got my phone right here. I can actually tell you. Let me type it in here. I don't know why I keep the road. Give me a second. I'm typing it in here. I think it's called On the Road. It's called something like that. Hang on. And Steve Buckhands. There he is, Steve Buckhands. Where is it here? No, that's not the name of it. Hang on. No, that's not the name of it. It's giving me something else when I'm looking in the search here in Spotify. But if you type in Steve Buckhands podcast, you'll know it when you see it. Let me try to see if I can try one other thing, and maybe that might help. Let me see here, Steve Buckhands. There we go. Yeah, I did think it right. I don't know why I thought it right. On the Road with Buck and Phil. On the Road with Buck and Phil. So good podcast. Check it out when you guys get a chance. How do we get on that topic anyway? That's the beauty of this show. Shit happens, it just bleeds into another. And yeah, we were talking about the Raw color commentating team. Just give the man time, people. That's it. Just give the man time. Y'all can't deny it. There's potential there. You know, he sounds pretty good. Yeah, he sounds definitely out of his element. He sounds like he's been plucked from a different universe. And let's give him some time. Let's really break him in. Remember, people, I don't see enough people talking about this. Here's something very critical that you guys need to remember, that most of you probably do not remember. But when Michael Cole first came into the WWE, and yeah, he was good with the whole backstage interviews and all that. But when he started doing color commentating, he was sounding too much like a news journalist. He was sounding too much like he was at the fucking live decks. I hate when the notifications happen there. I'll check that out in a hot minute. Because it interrupts my train of thought. But what was I saying? I hate when that happens. I'm sorry, guys. It's live. We're live, pal. We're live. What was I saying? That's the beautiful part of getting older. You forget shit. There was a very valid point I was trying to make. Michael Cole, I got it now. When he began, he came off like he was a newscaster, you know, at the desk. And he was, you know, giving you the news at 10 when he first began color commentating. That's how he sounded. I remember me and my friends, you know, back in school going into college. I remember how we were ripping on Michael Cole. We were like, well, what's this motherfucker doing? Like, he ain't no JR. He ain't no fucking Jerry Lawler. He ain't got no swag. Like, who is this guy? We were thinking about all the other people that we had saw years prior doing the color commentating. We were like, fuck this Michael Cole dude, man. And it took Michael Cole some time, but eventually he started to find his groove and all of that shit. And hey, look, he's still, for a lot of people don't give a fuck about Michael Cole. But again, just give the man time. You know, it's easy for a bunch of people to talk a really good game and scrutinize somebody and everything, but how soon we forget that at some point in our respective profession, those of us that actually do have to go out and work for a living, when we get that new job, how many of us haven't been there? You know, yeah, we might be experienced according to our resume. We might be experienced in XYZ, blah, 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 blah. But very seldom are we in a position where when we get hired for new position, that, oh, okay, we're just off the ground running. We know how to do any and every goddamn thing. Stand back, let us do our thing. No, we gotta be properly trained and all of that other boring shit that you guys don't need to hear about, because you already know about it. You've walked through it, so you get the point that I'm making. And you got yourself a couple of hiccups during those first couple of weeks. You're learning, hands-on training as you go. The best experience is when you pretty much are on the go. No more somebody taking you by the hand, showing you what you need to do. Now you pretty much on your own. It's time for you to go do the damn thing yourself. And you're doing the damn thing, right? That's how you fucking learn. So let's give this guy some time when it's all said and done. Another bright spot tonight, I did love seeing Matt Riddle backstage fucking with Randy Orton. I did like that. You know, you kind of are led to the impression, is Riddle really that fucking dumb? Or is Riddle really trying to be that goddamn savvy with his game, and as far as where he's trying to position himself on the roster as the ultimate top dog? In storyline, that's what you can't help but, you know, okay, is he being that dumb? Is he being like that dumb knucklehead in Casino that kept fucking up, and he didn't realize that people were pretty much rigging the machines, and you got De Niro standing there, he's got the cigarette, and he's like, you know, you're either that stupid or you're in on it. Which one? You know, remember that great, powerful fucking scene there where he's talking to him and everything. And he's like, you're fired. It's like, you're fired. I want you to fuck out of here. You know, no, I got to put that. See, it's like, I want you to fuck out of here. You get out of here, you fucking moron. I try to help you, and you keep fucking up. Get out of here. Great fucking scene in Casino. And you're wondering when you're watching, really, like, no, this motherfucker is not poking the Viper. I was waiting patiently for Randy Orton to deliver an RKO to Riddle while he was on that fucking scooter. But it didn't happen. It didn't happen. But ultimately, this had set up a match between Riddle and Orton. And as great of a match as it was, and it was interesting because I was talking with a few people in the Discord, and we all just kind of were looking at this going, okay, yeah, you know, going to be a good match. Good match so far. We really shouldn't be seeing this, though. We really shouldn't be seeing this unless it's like on pay-per-view or something. What the fuck? Which led to a point that I had made. I think I put it out there on social media. I'm not really sure, but I just remember saying something like, when is King of the Ring coming back? And my whole thing for bringing up King of the Ring was, okay, maybe we need to get to that moment where, okay, we have a King of the Ring tournament come back, and pretty much whoever wins that, not only are they the King of the Ring, but they pretty much also win a shot to go after, you know, the WWE champion or whatever. Or you could say a champion of their choosing or whatever the case may be. But I was just looking at Randy Orton and Riddle, and I just couldn't help but go, wait a minute. Jesus, I just watched the biography joint on Stone Cold, and I'm kind of having shades of Brock Lesnar and fucking Stone Cold there, like, and we're getting Randy Orton and Riddle on free TV. You know, and I'm thinking in the back of my head, maybe there's going to be some controversy here. Maybe we're going to get some controversy here. We didn't get no controversy. Riddle fucking beat Orton cleanly in the middle of the ring. It was like, what the fuck? You know, you're looking at that and you're going, okay, obviously these guys aren't done. This feud isn't over, not by a long shot, but you're like, this is pretty much how we're going to do this, right? We're starting here. This is how we're going to do this. It just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It did, but it was a good match. Look, I'm not shitting on the match, people, but I just felt that, nah, man, it's a little too soon. Maybe we should kind of pump the brakes here, and if anything, you know, somehow I don't know. I don't know. I'm very curious now because WWE has put themselves in a very unique position here. Now, look, you can definitely make the argument that, well, Lee, Randy Orton is okay. This is Randy Orton we're talking about. We already know of all the things he's accomplished in the WWE. Definitely a bona fide future WWE Hall of Famer. This does not hurt him at all. This is essentially all about trying to elevate Riddle even more. But still, I go back to that Brock Lesnar Stone Cold joint. Like, you know, it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way seeing that play out on live free TV. That's just me. To each its own. That's just me. And that's despite the fact that we're going to be seeing a lot more of Orton and Riddle, probably most likely going into WrestleMania Backlash. Let's see, some more action from Raw. Again, I'm not doing a full-blown Raw recap. I just want to talk about some of the things that was pretty good. It was a good hard-hitting match too, by the way, between Riddle and Orton. Good energy, good synergy. Synergy was in there as well. You know, both men did a really good job going in there and keeping that match strong. I'll definitely give it up to them. Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Naomi, Lana. Didn't care for this. Shit like what I watched with Raw tonight. You know, look, you can give me all the people that are saying, oh, love being a Lana supporter, you know, oh, love Lana, blah, 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 Lana's cool, blah, 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 you know, look, and I too have said, hey, her little documentary, you know, blah this, blah that, you know, more power to her, but, you know, look, you come to me, the show Creed is keeping it honest, insightful, interactive, right? All I gotta say, just looking at some of those people that were released last week, and we got cats like Lana still on the roster. You feel where I'm coming from? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it just really makes you question, from a WWE management standpoint. Okay, so you're saying you can do a lot more with this as opposed to what you got over here? What this person is lacking in so many areas, we got this over here, but we're going to let this go and we're going to keep this. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying, somebody should be I don't like saying that. You'll never hear me say, you know, that person needs to be fired. Very seldom you will hear me say that. And especially in the world of pro wrestling. Cuz I'll tell you this, and this is no bullshit. And I learned this from a manager of mine a long time ago, years and years prior. It was a manager / friend of mine, and he said to me, I hate firing people, but you know what? I sleep okay at night because at the end of the day, the people that are being fired, they're getting themselves fired because they aren't doing their jobs. As long as you're doing your job, there's no way you can get fired. Job is yours as long as you want. When you start fucking up, cutting up, not living up to your responsibilities, that's how you screw yourself out of a job. That's just something that's always stuck with me. All these years later. I remember the first time I had heard that. I was probably 24. 24 when I heard that. And now I'm 40. So when I heard that, it was just, and it stuck with me to this very day. It was that impressionable. Right? That impressionable. So, but Nia Jax, the whole Shayna, that whole, what the fuck is happening here? This is one of the laziest, dumbest story arcs I've, Dana Brooke, Mandy Rose coming out there. Okay, so are they now a heel tag team? What's going on here? Because, they came out, they're ridiculing Nia Jax. They're showing the shit that happened from last week. Nia Jax gets so fucking worked up. She storms off, leaves Shayna Baszler hanging and everything. Naomi Lana pick up the dub. And it was so inconsistent because by the time Nia Jax is able to catch up to Mandy and Dana backstage, stupid booking 101. If you're coming out, you're making fun of a person and that person is so infuriated that they gotta fucking quit what they're doing, focusing on the match that they're part of, and they're chasing you backstage. The last thing that should happen when this person finally is able to catch up to them is they stop cold dead in their tracks because there is a fucking person, a little backstage interviewer that just got done interviewing these girls, and so Nia Jax is now going to stop in front of this little backstage interviewer like they are some imaginary brick fucking wall, and Nia Jax can't fucking go through it to get her hands on these two women. It made no fucking sense to me whatsoever to see Nia Jax just, it all would have been justified if Nia Jax would have been girls like a mad fucking bull, and there was another 2-on-1 fucking beatdown or whatever, and then you have Shayna Baszler pop up, but Dana, Mandy, they've already done the fucking damage, they fucking bounce. Then you have Shayna, as she's trying to help Nia. You need to get your head in fucking check. Everything that she has said right there, that was intact tonight. I'd have been down with all of that if they'd have done all that other shit first that I'm talking about. It was a very bipolar moment that was going on here. And, and again, the question, what's going on with Mandy? What's going on with Dana here? Because they're coming off, kind of heelish here. And it really hasn't been established in an interview, whether or not what they've been doing to Nia, they are essentially just giving Nia Jax a taste of her own medicine because she's constantly been bullying certain women on the roster. Lana, blah, 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 to name a few. Like, we need to officially, in my mind, we need to officially hear them go on record here and say why they're doing what they're doing and all of that. Because right now it's just coming off like they're being very, very heelish to a certain degree. But then even at that, okay, so you're telling me about an eventual program culminating in Dana Brooke, Mandy Rose, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler for those women tag titles? Sorry, but at least you can say I've been consistent. I have more interest in a Naomi Lana story arc that sees them become women's tag champs. Lana never did truly get the ultimate revenge there. What better revenge than to take away some titles? Just saying. Just saying. Very, very stupid. Bad, stupid. It made everybody look bad. It made everybody look stupid the way this match was fucking booked. Great plus side Bad Bunny doing a post-Mania interview. He was talking in his native language. Great respect that he had for everybody in the WWE and everything. Damian Priest. Love that spot. Good shit right there. Good spot. Enjoyed that. Sold out too. His tour in the US for 2022. Sold out. Damian Priest continuing his feud with Miz. They had a match tonight. This go round, Miz picking up the dub. Good match. Good match. Damian Priest, Miz seem to be playing off of each other pretty good. Love the fact that Maurice is added into the mix. And also Damian Priest getting revenge from last week too. So that's pretty good. Charlotte Flair taking on Asuka in the main event. Asuka picking up the win. Charlotte had caused some controversy online last week, and it really wasn't controversy. I think the better way I can phrase it is she had people oohing and ahhing because she had debuted this cool kick-ass look. I mean, I didn't even recognize her when I saw her. I mean, she had her hair in a ponytail. It was just the way she did it, though. But her ring attire was entirely different. And it was badass. It was badass. And I'm like, oh, so this is what she's going to be debuting from here on out. Okay, good, nice-ass look. I mean, she looked like the Queen Bee. Seriously. That Queen Bee. But the look that she brought out tonight, it was, what's going on here? It's almost like the usual Charlotte, except the robe was, it was designed entirely different. I thought the robe was pretty badass. It kind of gave her that Snow White vibe. You know what I'm talking about? I can't think of the major villain in Snow White, but y'all know Angelina Jolie. She pretty much did a live action interpretation, of that main villain from the Snow White joint. It kind of gave me that vibe when I was looking at her attire tonight. Just everything, I was like, ooh, okay, cool. But it didn't match up to what she put out there on social media from last week. And I don't know if it was a case where, maybe the social media stuff had got to her, but there was a couple of knuckleheads that said she looked like a tranny. Why she even responded to these knuckleheads is fucking beyond me. I tell you what, when it comes to Wednesday's show, so I really should have the image loaded up so you guys can fucking see. But when we do the show on Wednesday, I'll show you guys exactly the image that I'm talking about if you haven't seen it yet. And, look, when it's all said and done, some men don't like their women muscular, athletic looking, etc. Some men just like for their women to look very natural, very feminine, because they're a woman and all of that. And, I get that. But just because there's a woman that, doesn't mind doing bodybuilding, doesn't mind lifting weights, believes in, looking very strong and athletic and all that. Hey, look, if that's not your cup of tea, then that's not your cup of tea. I mean, to each its own. But, if I have a particular preference when it comes to my women, the last thing I'm going to do is go on somebody's own fucking page, timeline and all that, and bash them for their looks. That's the last thing I'm going to do. Nah, I'm just going to fucking keep it moving along. It's like, okay, well, that ain't for me. Teach its own. All right, whatever. Moving on. Stupid shit right there. But Asuka defeating Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair snapping post-match as she beat the holy shit out of one referee, was just beating them over and over and over again, screaming at the ref. You got other refs that's trying to come in here. You're looking at this, you're going, okay, just fucking grab her already. Fucking, they're not grabbing her. They just, please stop. Please, 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 please. I must have seen Charlotte Flair attack this guy like 4 times. And I mean, it was just dragging on and on and on and on and on. Like, okay, we're done. One too many fucking attacks. Just fucking go off the air already. But to see Charlotte Flair completely fucking snap to end the show, I loved it. It kind of makes you wonder. It kind of makes you wonder if maybe that picture that we saw of Charlotte, what she was teasing, kind of makes you wonder if maybe eventually we're going to get to that point of what she was kind of teasing, or, what's going on here. But, now it creates a new question as far as, okay, what's going on here with Charlotte? What's next for the Charlotte character and everything? I like that. Is Ric Flair maybe gonna come back on TV and maybe gonna, try to give his daughter a little bit of a pep talk there, and because he has concerns and everything. Alexa Bliss did pop up. She did have another talking segment, and her, whatever, her little buddy, her little Cabbage Patch Kid little buddy, she pretty much had talked about how her friend Lily, that's her name, ain't it? Lily? Her friend Lily has always been by her side. And they started showing all these photos of a young Alexa Bliss with that Lily doll. I mean, obviously it was photoshopped in, but you pretty much got the point they were trying to make. Story being told about once she was a little girl, and there was this other little girl that was mean to her. They were fighting over ice cream or some shit like that, and basically, pretty much you were able to sum this up. All right, she tapped into her evil side, beat that little girl's ass, took the ice cream, didn't care for the ice cream, she just wanted it. Wasn't even the flavor she liked, she just wanted the fucking ice cream. Like, okay, all right, we get it, whatever. No appearance from Bray Wyatt. I thought that was kind of odd. So Bray Wyatt is just gonna continue to just let Alexa Bliss just cold jack his segment and do all this other stuff, and he's just letting her do her thing, and he's not even yeah one of those nights, one of those nights. Mason T-Bar winning via DQ against Drew McIntyre, Braun Strowman. I did talk about that match a little bit earlier, but I didn't give you guys the finish to that one. Mason T-Bar, their mask got ripped off. What we fucking do, we now know who they are. Hopefully this means that they pretty much are, now gonna be completely done with this whole retribution shit. We never did hear them addressed as Dio Madden and Dominic Dijakovic. We never did hear them addressed as that once their masks were taken off. They continue to be addressed as T-Bar and Mace. But I mean, other than that, there's some other stuff that had went down on Raw, but I just went over the parts that I thought were of most interest. If there's something you want me to talk about, you want to pick my brain on for a little bit, I'd be more than happy to get into that. But so-so episode tonight. So-so episode, much like so-so episode for AEW Elevation when it's all said and done. Hey, if you guys been enjoying yourselves so far, hopefully you have been, please make sure, if you haven't done so already, do go out of your way and make sure you hit that subscribe button. You click on that bell notification. And make sure with regards to that bell notification, you click all notifications so you know about all new content coming at you, man. Don't want you guys to miss out. So where do we go next? I tell you what, let's get into some Patreon shout outs, and then we'll get into some of those WWE releases that had went about, and I'll give you my thoughts about that and everything. All right, how about that? Shout out to our Patreon members over at patreon.com/RCWR Show. Patreon members, humbly apologize. There was no content for you guys last week. Hopefully you guys understand. Was on vacation and then got kind of sick with that COVID shot there a little bit. But now that things are pretty, nice and good, and I actually don't go back to work until Thursday. So I actually will be working on some Patreon content this week, probably most likely tomorrow, being Tuesday, so later today. But patreon.com/RCWR Show. Go-to place, check out bonus audio video content you won't be able to find anywhere else. Shout out to our Patreon members, Gino Morgan, Freddie. Shout out to Anthony DeBlasi, Michael Wolf, JD Davis. Also shout out to Tony Bean Gaming, one of the very latest in all things Marvel Strike Force, Marvel's Avengers, Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 3, tips, tricks, news, walkthroughs, reviews. Check out Tony Bean Gaming. He's on YouTube. He's got a Patreon paywall as well. Shout out to my good friend over at Wishful Walking Videos. Check him out. He's on YouTube. Make sure you show all these guys a lot of love. I'm sure they all would definitely appreciate it. Shout out to Freddie as well. I don't think I mentioned Freddie. Shout out to him as well. Shout out to everybody. Nice, cool Patreon familiar that we got. Continues to grow. If you're not part of it, do strongly consider, signing up. Worst case scenario, you sign up for the month. You don't enjoy the content. What? All you lost was just basically $5. I mean, that's little to lose, but you got a lot to gain. So do consider signing up. So let's talk about some of these WWE releases that had went down, because I did not get a chance to talk about this as it went down while I was on vacation. So although this may be a little bit old to some people, for most of our respected listeners, especially those that been with us for a significant period of time, they do care. They want to know what I think about some of these people that were released. And Spring Cleaning had pretty much came down Thursday of last week, which would have been April the 15th, and the following superstars were released: Billy Kay, Samoa Joe, Bo Dallas, Kalisto, Wesley Blake, Mickey James, Chelsea Green, Tucker, Peyton Royce, Mojo Rawley. Now, I'm not going to be all long-winded with regards to these names. I know some people like to be long-winded, just, dissecting every single. For me, I'll spend my energy where I need to spend my energy the most, because we got loads more other cool stuff that we can get into. Not that this isn't a cool topic, but there's just so much more I want to get into. I want to talk about the Hidden Treasures show on AEW, on A&E that was this weekend. The biography on Stone Cold I want to talk about. The Unsung episode on Mystikal, I want to talk about that. So there's a whole lot more stuff that we can get into. So let's try not to spend too much time on this one. Time's been very kind to us, though. I will say that we're about an hour, about an hour 27 minutes into the show, so we're doing pretty good. All right, Mojo Rawley. Hey, I always try to do my very best to support wrestlers that are from my area, that are from the DMV. And Mojo Rawley, he's actually from here. He's actually from Alexandria, Virginia. So, when he first joined WWE, very happy, very, very happy to hear, former pro football player and everything, turned pro wrestler, good look, great personality, never really seemed to go to that next level, and not to mention, I was talking about how he's from the Alexandria, Virginia area. He's also from the Maryland area as well, right down to the point He attended University of Maryland. That's actually where I'm considering transferring to once I'm done, and I get my 2-year associate's degree in broadcast media. So I'm strongly considering going there. It's either going to be there or Howard University I'm going to be going to. I haven't quite made up my mind just yet. But you saw a lot of promise in this man and everything. And for me personally, to each its own, but for me personally, I felt that Mojo Rawley, I felt that he had the potential. It was just all about, just trying to find that right gimmick. Just trying to find that right type of gimmick. And, when they started him off there with Zack Ryder and everything, it was like, okay, this is cool and everything. This is how we're pretty much going to get him popping and everything. Oh, okay, well, that's cool. But what about further down the road? Because the thing with Zack Ryder, that's not really going to last forever. So, what's going to happen down the road? And it just seemed like after the whole hype bros and everything, kept seeing brand switches multiple times. He was a 24/7 champion and everything. Hey, remember, he won the 2017 Andre the Giant Battle Memorial there. He won that. You're like, okay, all right. So you were thinking, okay, WWE is much like us fans. They see some stuff in him. They're trying to do a little. I don't know where things went wrong. I just don't know. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. But months upon months of inactivity for Mojo Rawley, and then pretty much being done with the hype gimmick, he gets moved, and he gets moved, and he pretty much does this heel kind of looking at himself in the mirror, and I just didn't understand all that. And what was the most craziest thing that had happened? Remember they pretty much had him move to the SmackDown brand, and then it was announced Rob Gronkowski would be appearing on SmackDown the very next week. Remember that? I don't know if you guys remember that. But Rawley was moved to the SmackDown brand, and then it was announced Rob Gronkowski would be appearing on SmackDown the very next week. And when you looked at that, it was kind of like, wait a minute. So is something going to happen here where, we got Gronkowski, and we got Rawley is maybe, and eventually we did get that. Eventually we did get that. But like, things just never really popped, never really sizzled with Mojo. So for me, as far as releases go, I'm not surprised by this. I honestly believe in my heart of hearts, based on everything that I saw of Mojo Rawley in the WWE up to this point, I believe, because we got to remember, he's pretty much been in the WWE umbrella. He's pretty much been there. Like 2012, 2013, believe it or not, since like 2012, 2013, he's been with the WWE. So the fact that all this time, and he's pretty much just been staying at a particular level, me personally, I just feel as though he can do a lot more. I think he would benefit tremendously working with other promotions, maybe even going outside of the US, maybe working in New Japan. I think he would just, I think he would click very well with that New Japan fan base. But could I see him maybe back in the WWE in a couple of years? I just don't know. I don't know. I'm not truly, they say anything can happen. I don't really know. I really don't know. But to see this name on the list, not surprised. That name doesn't surprise me whatsoever. let's move on. Let's talk about some of these other names that had hit this list here. Let's go with Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. You know, not for nothing, but Billie Kay, I gotta give her a lot of credit. Within recent months, Billie Kay was doing something really cool there. You know, she was getting herself over with very little to go off of. Here's a girl that's not having any wrestling matches and a whole bunch of other shit, and you know, she's getting these little backstage opportunities or these little 15 seconds of camera time, and she's fucking getting herself over. She was getting herself more over than Peyton Royce. Now think about that for a second. A lot of us, when we were looking at Billie Kay and Peyton Royce early on, a lot of us, including myself, said the same thing. Oh, as far as in-ring ability goes, Peyton Royce definitely has the in-ring ability. As far as the in-ring persona goes, it kind of seems like Billie Kay kind of has a little something there. So Peyton Royce, Billie Kay, they really complimented the hell out of each other. And when these girls were broken up, that was a detriment to their ongoing successful career, I felt, in the WWE. I felt that one really would not be able to thrive without the other. That they constantly had to be. You know, there's just certain guys you just go, yeah, we can't break them up. We just can't. We just can't. And this was one of those rare instances where Billie Kay, Peyton Royce, yeah, don't touch that. Don't break that up. We don't need to fuck with that. Let that be as it is. It's cool. For God's sake, we still got Breezango still together all these years later. So it's like, so don't tell me it ain't possible. That for me was just, and look, I appreciate WWE giving Peyton Royce, you know, the opportunities, if you even want to call it that. But it, you know, and look, not for nothing, but Peyton Royce did show us a little something in some of those last few matches that she had before she had got her release. And if you can bear with me, I can actually tell you one of those, because it was a singles match that I recall. So hang on a second, because I can actually look it up right here. Raw, March 22nd. She took on Asuka. I remember being very complimentary on that Monday's RCWR show about that match that she had. I remember being very complimentary. And then you go back before that. God, am I seeing this right? Before that, she had a tag match going back to February where she teamed up with Lacey Evans to take on Charlotte Flair and Asuka. I believe, yeah, that's correct. That match was a, let me look here. Look at this match a little more here. Yeah, it was a no contest match. That's what it was. That's what it was. So, I mean, just go back and look at that. When you look at 2021, WWE was not kind to her. When you look at 2021, as far as televised matches go, she only had 4 televised matches. So you could almost make the argument, goddamn, so she was essentially showing up just once a month on main WWE programming? Yeah. There was another joint where, I don't know if you guys were aware of this, she had faced Dana Brooke on a episode of Main Event. That was from, looks like February 8th of this calendar year. So, you know, I mean, there's one right there where I'm just scratching my head. Great look. Great fucking look. Decent in the ring. Very decent in the ring. Just needed to be under the right type of story arc and everything. And for whatever respected reason, shit didn't pop. That one is a head scratcher for me. Billie Kay, that was another hit. I gotta tell you, that was another head scratcher because what little she was given, she was able to run with it, and she was getting herself over. Social media was talking about her. You know, they loved her little comedic moments and all that, and for them to just, I don't know, that for me, most baffling. Most baffling. Them girls, all these people are going to be all right. All these people are going to be all right. I'll say a lot more at the end, but you know, they're going to be all right. They're going to bounce back okay. These two girls for sure. I'm not concerned about them whatsoever. Poor booking. And then to hear the shit about just didn't get Billy Kay, if that's the accurate report, and that supposedly the whole accent, he just couldn't. Meanwhile, you got Becky Lynch going out there suddenly like the goddamn seafood. Whatever, dude. Tucker, no surprise. No surprise with Tucker. No surprise. And look, I wouldn't be surprised if you were to tell me Otis ain't too far away, because I'm just not. Everything that was cool about Heavy Machinery is just total reversal now. Total fucking reversal. But as far as, okay, eventually we need to break these guys up and we need to see what they can do as a solo act. Okay, well, I think now we need to get to a point where not every single body needs to be all about Intercontinental Championship. Not every single body needs to be about a United States Championship or a world title championship. Not everybody needs to be about that. There are some people that just, okay, you know what? Tag team? Okay, leave it. Tucker and Otis was quite fine as a tag team. I don't know why the powers that be fucked with that in the first place. Give me Tucker, Otis, Mandy Rose. That was a great fucking little trio group that was going on there. You know, Tucker honestly did not stand a chance from a creative standpoint. Once Mandy, once Otis, once all of that was pretty much stripped away, he did not stand a chance. And I really wish that during that time when it was decided, let's pull Mandy, let's pull Otis, I really wish that Tucker, if anything, would have been sent back to the Performance Center / NXT, you know, work with Triple H and them, try to flush some shit out, try to see what they can maybe come up with, see if it can get over down there. And then, you know, if everything clicks, then okay, let's see how this resonates on the main roster. I think that would have been a better move. But yeah, that boy was set up for failure the moment that they pulled all that away from him. Chelsea Green, most surprising. Chelsea Green, and I told you guys straight up, when it came to Chelsea Green, I wasn't always a big fan of her work. I wasn't. Because I remember one of the first times I came across her work, it was at Impact, and I did not care for that whole bride thing. I didn't care for that. I just thought it was so fucking, you know, like, I didn't care for it. I didn't care for it. And it's weird because I'm into the Su Yung, I'm into the Rosemary, I'm into all that, you know, crazy, creepy shit. But there was just something about the bride version of Chelsea Green that I could not get behind. Your guess is as good as mine. Well, you know, what was going on with that? But yeah, I couldn't get behind that. I loved what she was doing there briefly with Robert Stone. You know, now we hear that there was a match that Chelsea Green apparently did with Mickie James that never aired. It was filmed. They did their match. It was supposed to be part of whatever show. Never aired. There was an interesting storyline that I believe she was pitching that she wanted to see happen between her and Mickie James. And she felt that eventually when she got the green light to do the match with Mickie, that maybe that was going to kind of get things popping with that story angle she was thinking about. But nothing ever happened. Here's a girl that was showing up to every single, in her own words now, she just said this in a recent interview, she was showing up to Raws pretty much after she got drafted, waiting to talk to Vince, somebody, and just showing that, hey, she's there, she's ready to work, everything she can to help. And eventually somebody has said to her, because they notice her there every single week, hey, no reason for you to keep hanging around here. Just, wait at home, wait by the phone. When they want you, they'll call you. And they pretty much never did fucking use her. So, I mean, that right there, when you hear that, you're just like, what the fuck? Now, here's something that's very hilarious here. You cannot make this shit up. The last time we saw Chelsea Green on some type of WWE programming, you got to go back to November 13th, 2020, SmackDown. It was Survivor Series qualifying fatal four-way match. Before that, she was doing her thing pretty much regularly on NXT. Remember, she was feuding with Xia Li. She was also in the mix there with Io Shirai, Dakota Kai, Mia Yim, Tegan Nox. Remember that great NXT Women's Title #1 contendership ladder match? Remember that? She took on Marina Shafir. There was an NXT Women's Title match where she took on Rhea Ripley. I mean, whole lot of promise. Whole lot of fucking promise. Great fucking look. Phenomenal in the ring. Phenomenal in the ring. You're looking at her, you're going, oh yeah, I can definitely picture her locking it up with the Bianca Belairs, with the Sasha Banks, with the you fill in the blanks. And for whatever respected reason, this woman did not get her just due. That's another one of those head scratching moments, you look at and you just go, what the fuck? Very baffled by that. Wesley Blake. Oh, man. Wesley Blake. Poor Wesley Blake. I sincerely mean that. Poor Wesley Blake. I don't get that one. That's an interesting one. 33 years of age, right? Pretty much was doing the whole Blake and Murphy thing since like 2013. Then he was doing the whole Forgotten Sons. Was it the right call? Yeah. I would say it was the right call. To the point, I didn't even know he was still with WWE until I saw his name on the list. I thought he was gone like a long time ago. I did. So, Wesley Blake. There's certain people you look at and you go, again, not everybody is a world heavyweight champion. Not everybody is an intercontinental champion. But can you go out there? Can you get that reaction from the crowds? And the stuff that I remember of Wesley Blake, I mean, even when I was watching his shit down in NXT, it was just kind of like, I don't know, dude. Seriously, like, I don't know. I don't really know. Now, you know what? Blake and Murphy, not for nothing, but down in NXT, damn good matches against the Vaudevillains. I definitely got to give it up. Damn good matches against the Vaudevillains. And I think it was because of shit like that, not to mention Kalisto, Sin Cara. I think that when you look at shit like that, oh yeah, Colin Cassidy, Enzo Amore, when you look at shit like that, that kind of boosts that portfolio a little bit, creates that buzz, that interest, and it's like, okay, well, let's see if we can, so opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, and there's just certain guys, and yeah, Wesley Blake was kind of, even when I was looking back at that time in NXT, I always kind of felt that out of those two, if one were to break him up, I had more faith in Murphy than I did in Blake. So, it kind of sucks that Blake got the chop. I don't have a problem with it though. I don't have a problem with it. I don't think most people have a problem with that cut. All right, Callisto. I thought Callisto would have been gone by now. Callisto, that doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Remember, they were trying very hard to make Callisto. They were trying to very hard to make Callisto be the fucking new Rey Mysterio and everything. Remember that? I mean, they had such a nice hard on for fucking Callisto. A nice fucking hard on for Callisto. I can't believe Callisto was in WWE. The same guy, mind you. The same guy under the mask. I can't believe Callisto was with the WWE all this time, because you pretty much got to rewind it back to 2012, 2013. Callisto had been with the WWE. Now we know a different guy was under the Sin Cara mask. Remember that. Callisto. How do I feel about Callisto? Still a young man. I'm a little surprised at Callisto, and I'm going to tell you the reason why. Because now that you had Rey Mysterio back, if there was ever a time where you wanted to really build up somebody, do a nice, cool little feud and all that, I thought for sure with Rey Mysterio being back, okay, so maybe now we're going to maybe see Rey Mysterio first time in his illustrious career in WWE go heel. And this will pretty much put him in a really cool position feuding against Callisto here. This is all about pretty much elevating Callisto. I thought for sure that if there was any way Callisto could get over being called a knockoff, even though he had spent all his years respectfully, building up his portfolio and everything, as Callisto, as Samurai del Sol, you just felt that if there was anybody that could get him to that next level, get him over that hump, a guy like Rey Mysterio, just the Mysterio name alone, that would be enough. And for whatever respected reason, shit never clicked. So I'm trying to remember if even Rey Mysterio and Callisto were even a tag team for a significant period of time, and nothing's really clicking in my mind right now. I could almost make the argument they may have teamed up once, but other than that, nothing else ever had materialized. And I'd be really shocked if you were to tell me, no, Lee, they didn't even do a tag team once. I'd be really shocked at that, because it's like, damn, who was booking this shit? Capable of a lot more than what WWE gave him. That's for damn sure. Bo Dallas. Well, we kind of heard the rumblings that Bo Dallas was trying to make the transition to life after wrestling. That there was more to life than wrestling for him. I know one of the things he was trying to do was set up his own business or some shit like that, if I remember it right, guys. Here's a guy we expected a lot of great things. I mean, he's part of the fucking legendary Rotunda family. And I thought that with regards to the whole, Bo Dallas, all you got to do is Bo leave. I mean, he had something built in, something that was there. I mean, I felt that once he was on the main roster, seemed like it was going a bit. It was warm, but it never really fucking exploded like it did in NXT. And that for me was just, and here's something else that's just mind-boggling. We've been talking about this for years. Why the hell did this guy never get to do anything with his brother and Bray Wyatt? Why did he never? I mean, there were so many cool opportunities. The Wyatt family, even after the late Luke Harper, rolled out, Brody Lee, even after he rolled out, there was ever a time where, okay, new member gets inserted into the Wyatt family. You could have easily, there were so many great opportunities there. You could have also done some opportunities there where Bo could have done some really cool shit with Bray, with regards to the Firefly Funhouse and all that. Could you just imagine seeing Bo Dallas going bonkers and shit in the Firefly Funhouse? That would have been pretty badass. Now, I definitely am looking forward, and I hope he considers strongly doing it. I would love to see him, do a shoot interview with High Spots or R Video, and I would love to know, okay, what was going on, what I just said. And I'll actually pitch those questions too, if they're going to be taking video questions. I'll actually ask him my damn self. I want to know what's going on. Did he pitch those ideas that I was talking about? Was he pitching other ideas, and what was going on? Was it falling on deaf ears? Everything was on deaf ears. What's going on? This is still a young man too, 30 years of age. 30 years of age. So, I enjoyed watching him wrestle, man. I enjoyed him. I knew anytime he was on the card, I was going to get a decent match. I wasn't preparing myself for no 4-star or 5-star match, but I knew I was going to get an entertaining matchup. The shit that him and Curtis Axel did together, man, talk about taking chicken shit and turning it into salad there, some bomb-ass salad. They were doing pretty good. They were doing pretty good. So, that one for me is just kind of mind-boggling. I don't know what the future may hold for him as far as a pro wrestling career, but if the young man still wants to go out there, continue to pursue it, from a creative standpoint, he's definitely going to have some better opportunities to really showcase himself. I personally feel from that creative freedom standpoint I'm talking about. Let's see. Who does that leave? We got Mojo, we got Peyton, we got Tucker, we got Chelsea, we got Wesley, we got Callisto, we got Billy. All right, that leaves us with the two most surprising names on this list that I just don't quite understand. Mickie James. Don't get that. Been a fan of Mickie James for years upon years. I remember when Mickie James, and this was one of my first times that I was watching her in the business. She doesn't like when you bring up, letting you all know that right now. Don't try to bring up this shit if you get to do a meet and greet with her and all that, because it's like a frowning moment for her. It's a moment in her career she chooses not to want to remember or talk about. But I remember when she was Alexis Lurie and she was wrestling for the women's extreme wrestling promotion with her sister, and then they were doing it like everything else about WEW was just, but if you knew that Alexis Lurie was on the card, you knew damn sure you were going to get yourself a solid, entertaining match. That you knew without a shadow of doubt. So I've been a fan of hers for some decades, is the point that I'm making now, for a couple of decades. This for me was the most surprising, stunning release because I saw so much upside in Mickie James. I saw so much potential. I'm not trying to hear that shit about aging out, because you look at Tamina Snuka, great fucking WrestleMania moment that she had, by the way. You look at Asuka. There's quite a few women that are under the WWE umbrella that are, in their late 30s or early 40s. Hell, we just saw Taya Valkyrie. She's 38 going on 39. She made her NXT debut last week. So don't give me that shit about, because I see what's going on here, and it ain't about the age. And Mickie James, for a woman that has put out, what, guys, 2 kids now? 2 kids she has with husband Nick Aldis, and she still has a beautiful figure. I don't know what she's doing as far as the Fountain of Youth goes, but she's found it. She's been able to tap into it and still looks as awesome as she did 10, 15, almost 20 years ago. Right on. That's all I got to say. Right on. You're able to go out there, still hang with the best of them, still hang with some of today's. And, I'm just looking at this and I'm just going, wait a minute. Did you guys not learn anything from what she was doing in Impact Wrestling? Did you not learn anything? And try to build off of that? It's like, I don't like how they did Mickey. By now, Mickey should have been, during her second rodeo, if you will, with the WWE, by now she should have been, perfect world 2, maybe even a 3-time WWE Women's Champion. And it just, it was a great opportunity to have some really good memorable feuds with Charlotte Flair, with Sasha Banks, with Bayley, Bianca Belair. I mean, the list just goes on, and it just never materialized. Never materialized. I was even waiting patiently for them to reignite the feud there between Asuka and Mickie James from the one takeover joint that they had did. And that didn't even fucking materialize. So I'm like, okay, you know what? All right, so you tell me that Mickie James is let go. I tell you that's the biggest mistake that WWE has made. You would have thought for sure that a talk would have been done. And for those of you that may be a little bit curious, it was NXT TakeOver Toronto 2016. For those of you that want to look up Mickie James taking on Asuka. You had a nice, good built-in storyline right there. And I always felt that, oh, wow, now that Mickie James is back on a regular, you could eventually, especially now that you got both girls on the same brand, you can build back up to that point and, right, let the fans that didn't get to see it the first rodeo, let them get to experience it all over again and all that. And it didn't happen. I felt that for everything that Mickie James had contributed to the sport of pro wrestling and everything, I thought for sure maybe WWE would try to figure out a way to transition her into being a coach, helping out at the performance center and basically taking on the position that, what's homegirl's name that's now in AEW? Oh shit, I can't think of her name right now. Serena Deeb. Basically slide on there in that spot, and I thought for sure that was gonna happen. Never did. Never did. So I mean, that for me is just the most head scratching, baffling release of all time. And like I said last week, as soon as I found out she was on the list, I said, okay, you know what? Her WWE's loss, the pro wrestling industry's gain. And I'm hoping that with everything that's been going on over on the NWA side, and you got Nick Aldis and storyline talking about how he's looking at possibly expanding the Strictly Business faction, maybe adding in some new members and talking about how everybody's position is up for grabs. You want to keep your spot, continue to maintain that level of excellence. Like I said on social media last week, I hope that Mickie James just fucking comes on over to the NWA. She would be a perfect and great addition for the NWA roster, especially for their women's roster. Definitely, because she can still fucking contribute. She can still fucking go. So hopefully, fuck yeah, sign me up. Mickie James taking on Thunder Rosa, fucking sign me up. Mickie James taking on Melina, sign me up. Mickie James taking on Camille, yeah, dude, sign me up for all of that shit. Bring it. That's all I gotta say. Bring it. She can still contribute. So stupid move. And the most surprising name on this list, Most surprising name on this list, Samoa Joe. What do I say about Samoa Joe? If you were to tell me that one of the last memories I'm going to have of Samoa Joe is the sad look on his face where it's raining at WrestleMania and he's got that stupid ass little fake me out raincoat on, and he's with Michael Cole and all that. You know, if you're going to tell me that's like one of the last memories I'm going to have of Samoa Joe, sure, he, a little bit later on in the night, yeah, I mean, he was calling some matches or whatever, but then even at that, we didn't really get to experience that much of Samoa Joe from what I can recall. I'd have to go back and I really don't want to go back and watch WrestleMania again, so I'll have you guys remind me. Am I right? There wasn't much Samoa Joe on commentating from Mania Night 1 and 2. Not that I recall. But my point, that's my last image, is going to be Samoa Joe commentating WrestleMania, that sad look on his face. Your guess is as good as mine what was going on there with Samoa Joe until we hear it from his mouth in his own words. You know, there's a lot of conflicting reports out there, and it's got a lot of us talking. It's got a lot of us wondering. You know, on one hand, you can't help but go, all right, so what was going on here? Did Samoa Joe want to return to wrestling, but WWE said, no, we want you to stick to commentating. We feel you're really good at commentating. We don't want you wrestling right now. And furthermore, for the amount of money that we want to pay you as a commentator, you know, we want you to actually come down a little bit, because what we were giving you as a wrestler, since you would no longer be wrestling, because we want you more as a commentator, then where you were at price-wise, that's going to have to come down, because of, you know, you can't help but wonder how much of that, if at all, may have been a factor in the contract renegotiating there. If Samoa Joe was trying to renegotiate with the WWE, right? You know, it's funny because I have been staying on top of Samoa Joe's career since he's been in the WWE, and whenever the topic would come up about Samoa Joe, oh, he should be this, he should have been a world champion by now, he should have been this. I'm always quick to point out to people, well, look, not for nothing, but Joe has been injury prone. And you got to remember the style of wrestling that he was doing all those years prior to WWE in some form was going to come back and kind of bite him a little bit, especially even though the schedule for WWE wasn't as demanding as it was, say, during the Attitude Era. It was still a bit of a rigorous schedule, and you just knew that at some point you're going, right? That's all you could do. That's all you could do is go, So Samoa Joe, you know, we got to hear this guy in his own words what was going on, because there's so many ways that you can look at this, right? What you know, was it a disagreement on money? Were they trying to give him less because they didn't want him wrestling? You know, what was going on? You know, did he want to return to wrestling, or was he fine commentate? You know, what was going on there? You know, we just won't really know until we hear him in his own words. And for all of these people, I would think, you know, yeah, even with Samoa Joe, apparently, because I remember seeing him put out on Twitter, he's got to wait 90 days. So apparently for all these guys, it looks as though there is a 90-day non-compete clause. So even if these guys want to be doing interviews right now, even if they want to be doing interviews right now, they couldn't. So your guess is as good as mine. You're going to hear a whole, you know, it's already kind of starting. But look, for a lot of these people, you're going to hear all the dirt sheets, and they're going to try to come up with shit, right? That's why I expect people like Mickey James, Chelsea Green that's pretty much jumped out there, and they've pretty much said, look, I can tell you this right now. If you're expecting for any of these people that were released to put some salacious, juicy shit out there about WWE, throw WWE under the bus, you're not going to find that with any of these people. I don't even believe you're going to get that from Samoa Joe. I don't. I just don't. You'll be lucky if you can even get the one story out of Samoa Joe about what was going on with that WWE plane ride to Saudi Arabia. You'll be lucky if you could even get at least that out of him. But for all of these people, I'm not seeing any of them putting out anything salacious or juicy. I saw the Chelsea Green interview. Shout out to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful. I saw the interview that he conducted with her, and that was pretty good. She seems to be in very good spirits and everything. And that's the type of mindset that you want to have, because look, to WWE's credit, I know this looks real bad right now, because when you think about the new deal that WWE had made, particularly with Fox, and then you look at the new deal that WWE made to have the network be on Peacock and all that, I'll have the, because they got a quarter report for how they did for the first quarter, I believe. We'll talk about that on Wednesday. But, look, you see so many pluses. And I know a lot of people are going to be looking at, well, wait a minute, WWE brought in all this money. All of these people, they could have afforded to continue to be on the roster. To that, I say, that's very true. That's very true. They could have easily had this continue to play out. I'm good, by the way. I didn't catch the name in the chat. I was being asked, how am I tonight? I'm good. Hope everybody's doing good. But you got to understand it like this. You got to think from a budget perspective. You just have to. Because when you have a responsibility to stock shareholders, investors, when you have those type of financial responsibilities, and then you got to make sure everything at the end, when it comes time to pay those taxes, what you and I go through as just regular citizens, it's nothing compared to, okay, when you're actually paying for your own business, be it small or big. And I know what it's like to be paying taxes as a small business because of everything that I'm doing for the show and everything that's behind a small business name. So, the best way I can kind of simplify for the younger audience, to really make people, kind of understand this, if you're younger, but you're at about that age where you're about to go on to college, think about it from this standpoint, and I know you can definitely relate to it. Older folks, I'm not worried about you guys. It's the younger folks that I'm very worried about more, because they're probably looking at all this money that WWE is making, and they're probably saying they should be able to keep all these people. What the fuck? All right, let's say you get accepted to college. Let me snap my fingers. Boom, you've been accepted to the college that you wanted from the get-go. Like, you put in a lot of joints for colleges, but the number one joint that you wanted to go to that you hope it'd be mutual, they got you, right? All right, so here's the thing. You ain't going to be able to live on campus. Hypothetically speaking, let's just say the college that you want, there's no campus available. There's no living on campus available, all right? Now, your parents, money is tight for them as it is, so they're not going to be able to help you. Hypothetically speaking, let's say as far as scholarships goes, grants, let's just say hypothetically speaking, grand total, you was able to do about $1,000, right? $1,000, but your tuition, for that semester, is probably going to be about, let's put you at about 10 grand, right? 10 grand. Now, luckily, you ain't got to pay all this, right? You can do installments. You can do monthly installments, right? That's what happens with most students. All right. Now here's where it starts to get kind of all right, so let's say hypothetically speaking, you got to come up with about $65 a month for your student loan. Because at some point, you're going to have to get a student loan to try to take care of that tuition, right? Unless you're lucky, you're able to make the payment arrange. You feel where I'm coming from? So let's just say, hypothetically speaking, let's boost it up a little bit. Let's say you're putting out $100, right? You're living on your own, so you need a place to rent. 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to get a 3-4 bedroom apartment, condo, or some shit like that with some friends, right? And it's like a 4 or 5 bedroom or some shit like that. You break the rent down. Everybody's responsible for paying, like, what is it now? It's probably going about $400-500 a month. That's just for your room. What about utilities? 9 times out of 10, you probably gonna, if you want some cable, right? You want some cable, somebody in there is gonna have cable, and they're gonna try to cut you in on it, and they're gonna be like, we're gonna split the cable bill 4 ways or some shit like that, right? So that's probably gonna cost you about maybe $540 for the cable, right? $40 for the cable. You're probably gonna have to pay for electricity, right? You're probably pushing your own cell phone plan, right? So let's just go ahead. Let's just round all that up to about a cool $700. $700 a month that you pretty much got to come up with, right? Let's come up with transportation. You probably driving, right? You probably driving most likely. So if you probably driving, gas alone, what you doing in a couple of weeks? I say in about 2 weeks, you probably drop in about, I'll say $40. Okay? I'll say $40 you probably drop in on transportation. Let's say every other week. So that's 40, that's 80. So that's about $120, right? So now you're at about $820. Stay with me, people. This helps you figure out what I'm talking about more and connect more with what WWE is doing and their mindset. So you're already at $820. We didn't even include you guys need to fucking eat, right? We didn't even fucking include that. So eating wise, I've been there. I've done that. You need at least within a month, you need at least $100 to $150 to get yourself over on groceries. You only got to worry about feeding yourself. Okay? So again, $100 to $150. $100 is really that's gonna just get you by. $50 is gonna, that $50 extra, that's gonna have you get by very comfortably on the food. So if you want to maybe get some premium shit, you know what I'm saying? You know, you don't want to keep getting the cheap knockoff, you know, whatever. You're kind of good. You're kind of good on that one. But let's just say $150. And that's just for food. So look at that. You're already up to like $970. I don't think I forgot anything else. I mean, we pretty much included. Oh, wait a minute. And that $150, let's remember that $150, that covers your toiletry needs and all that shit too, on top of food. So, you know, we just generalize that as groceries. So that's like about, you know, round it off, you're looking at about almost $1,000 a month just for taking care of yourself. So you know you're working within a budget, right? Understand your budget. Now, obviously, you ain't going to be able to accomplish all of these things, not unless you got yourself a fucking job. Very important. You need to have a fucking job. Let's say the job that you get, you know, most students, they got to work about, I would say most students, they got to work like 2 jobs. They got to work 2 part-time jobs. Some have the audacity to work 2 full-time jobs. But let's just say you're working, I'm taking the chat room down, but you guys can keep talking amongst yourselves there. So let's just say job-wise, you're able to find one job that's paying you, let's say you're able to find one job that's part-time and it's paying you $200 a week. All right, $200 a week. Most jobs are going to give that to you, pretty much every other week, right? Last thing you want to do is put yourself in a position where you get a job that's only paying you twice a month. Now, you want that job that's going to be paying you every other week. If you can find a job that's going to be paying you every single week, that's fucking better, because that's pretty much putting money in your pocket when you need it. So, you're doing about $200 and you're getting paid every other week. So pretty much you're doing $400. But wait a minute, we got to include taxes, right? We got to include taxes. You're filing single, W-2, no dependents, no kids, right? You don't own a home. So 9 times out of 10, we're probably looking at about, from that $400 as far as taxes goes, you're probably looking at about, I would say, $320 if you're lucky. So $320 times twice, because you for the most part, you're pretty much going to get that, typically in a month, same amount. So you're looking at about $640. I just gave you all your expenses and all that. I just told you basically doing $1,000 a month, and you just are doing $640 by doing $200 a week, but you're getting paid every other week, right? So you're probably going to pick up another job to try to pick up that additional money that you need. Let's say you're able to find another job that's pretty much going to get you that same amount, $200 a week. Okay, let's do the same thing again. Okay, so now let's add that up. All right, so same thing. So at the end, we're doing $640 times 2. So that puts you at $1,280. All right, now you take that $1,280, you minus that 1,000. Would you look at that? All you got left over is $280, right? So you're looking at that $280 and you're saying to yourself, what to do with that $280? There's a whole bunch of stuff I can do with that $280. I can either put most of that, to the side in case there's an emergency, or if I maybe want to go out on a date and, I want to take my date to a movie. Maybe we go grab a bite to eat afterwards. You have a little bit of play money, but not by much. You understand what I'm saying, folks? So you really gotta stay within your budget, especially if you're trying to make sure you're in a position where you're constantly are in a plus gain. Right? You want to be doing more than breaking even. You want to be making sure you're putting yourself in a position where you're having a plus gain as well. And that's WWE's mentality when it's all said and done. It's all about ultimately making sure they're putting themselves in a fucking plus gain. You younger folks understand what I'm talking about. Hopefully that, my older audience, I'm not concerned about. I see the age demographics, and we got the 25 to 60 age range of folks, whereas the 13 to 17, I see we got that as well, but it's, the major core of our audience is that 25 to 60 age range. But you 13 to 17-year-olds, I know it's kind of late depending on when you're watching this, especially if you're watching this live. It's like, I hate math. But now you kind of understand what's going on there. So, for me, look, you can definitely make the argument WWE had no business releasing, a lot of these people because they could have afforded to keep them on and all that. But you know what? Not to be devil's advocate, but to be devil's advocate, yeah, when you look at when the pandemic had first broke out and everything, to WWE's credit, they did the very best they could to keep a good majority of their roster intact. They really did, to their credit. They really did. When you really stop and think about it, there wasn't really too many releases that had went down in 2020. Right down to the point. Right down to the point. Let me friendly give you a reminder of releases that had happened in WWE for 2020. So I actually have the list. In WWE, this was your list of folks in 2020. Dash Wilder, Scott Dawson, Revival. Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, the OC. Primo and Epico. Rusev, Rowan, Zack Ryder, Drake Maverick, but as we all recall, he got signed. Kurt Hawkins, Heath Slater, Eric Young, EC3 begged out. Let's really stress that he begged out. Cain Velasquez, Curtis Axel, Leo Rush, Sarah Logan, Mike and Maria Kanellis, No Way Jose, Mike Chioda, Kurt Angle, Aiden English, Akeem and Razir, Renee Young. Renee Young, let's remember, she asked for her release. Now, some of these names, they asked for their release. Some of these names, hey, look, nothing personal, but, we got a better deal over here, so we're going to go jump on this deal. So you had a combination of a lot of that, and then unfortunately you had some people that were just part of the chopping block. And back then you could have looked at it and, you could have said, oh, what WWE is doing, it's very cruel. It's very cruel that they're doing any releases at all because of what's going on during this pandemic. When, let's be honest, we're going to throw a fit and all this other shit. I need that same energy for when your best friend or your family member, you feel where I'm coming from? I don't even need to finish that train of thought. But considering that pretty much was all that was released in 2020, and it pretty much had came during the course of a couple of days, if I remember it right. Maybe it stretched out into a month. But considering where we are right now in 2021, and so far these are the only names that's been released so far, that should really kind of, in hindsight, that should really kind of, not for nothing, WWE really didn't do that much of a fucking release, right? But with Samoa Joe, your guess is as good as mine what's going on with him. We just gotta pay attention to whenever he is able to finally break his silence, comment more about the release, and pretty much go from there. But I mean, look, all these men and women, they all are going to be bouncing back. We're at a time right now where we're pretty much at that finish line when it comes to this pandemic. More wrestling promotions are safely trying to run events and everything. So, they're going to be just fine when it's all said and done. So, best of luck to all of these men and women, because when it's all said and done, and I mean this, and I've been feeling this way for years, I don't ever like hearing about somebody losing their job. Not unless they fucked up so bad and they're taking self-accountability. Hey, I fucked up, right? But they just sucked so bad at their job. They constantly were fucking up that they got themselves fired. It's like, I can't feel sorry, but like, just, I don't like hearing when people lose their job. I don't, because I understand that at the end of the day, they're trying to provide for themselves and they're trying to provide for their families. And so, I never like hearing that. I don't. People that are wishing for, and I kept saying it constantly, why is this person, I'm not going to mention any names, why is this person still employed with WWE when they should be fired? And this person should, it's like, nah, man, I'm not going to wish that somebody be fired for, I'm not going to wish that on somebody. again, that person needs to be fucking up so bad at their job. They need to be in constant violations and, all kinds of shit that, like, there's no other recourse. That motherfucker, I mean, find me some shit that, like, there's no denying it. This motherfucker needs to be gone. Dudes, girls, dudettes, I'm right there with you. I will be waving that flag going, yeah, what's going on there? What's going on there? Right? It's got to be undeniable fucking, here's the fucking bulletproof facts. Here's the evidence. Fuck the hearsay. Here's the evidence. It's like, yeah. And not for nothing. Some of those motherfuckers, they really should. Given some of the shit that's going on, some of them motherfuckers, I don't even give a fuck if it's hearsay. Once I hear about a little blemish like that, it's like, yeah, dude, I don't want to have nothing to do with you. Go ahead and see yourself out. Right? I'd rather waste my time and energy on somebody that don't get in trouble in the headlines constantly as professional than I gotta keep seeing this motherfucker's name popping up. What school you go to? Yeah, like, that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's about as best as I'm going to get as far as beating around the bush there. By the way, we were talking about, at the finish line here of this pandemic, more wrestling promotions are kind of doing their thing. Congrats to Major League Wrestling, MLW. They announced that they're now going to be on Vice TV. So on top of Vice TV being the place to go to for all things weed, they are also going to be the place to go to for Dark Side of the Ring. And now you're going to be able to check out MLW. So, I mean, that's cool. I don't know if the YouTube episodes of MLW is going to remain intact. I'll read a little bit more into it. And since I'm part of the media, I'm actually signed up for like little newsletter stuff and all that. I'll actually reach out to MLW and see if I can get a direct answer from them. And hopefully by Wednesday's show, I'll have more information for you guys. But I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty fucking good to hear. I'm happy for them. I hope that they can make this last a good minute. It's a good transition that pro wrestling is on Viceland, because it's, when you think about it, it makes all the sense in the world. It's a great transition, and leave it up to the executives and all that. Okay, well, obviously there's wrestling fans out there. Well, let's see what happens if MLW is a great product. It's a great fucking product. So I haven't really gotten a chance to check it out since they've been back, and they came back recently from the pandemic and all that. So they're doing their thing now. It seems like they're building up that momentum, and they're going at it at full effect and everything. So one of these days this week, probably after I'm done with the show, I'm probably gonna binge a little bit on MLW, see what's going on with that. Okay, let's talk about the A&W. I don't know why I keep going A&W. I don't know what the fuck is going on with that. A&E. Let's talk about A&E's Stone Cold Steve Austin biography. All right, so they got this 8-part miniseries on WWE Legends. They're doing the biographies and all that. They kicked it off with Stone Cold Steve Austin. I didn't really learn anything new. Stone Cold Steve Austin is somebody, I remember being a teenager when the Attitude Era exploded. I remember in real time when Steve Austin exploded to the scene. I remember all of that shit. So for me, I pretty much know the story of Stone Cold Steve Austin inside and out. So for me, I sat down going into this biography, one saying, okay, well, you know what? This is great quality time with the missus, because, my schedule, her schedule were hectic. So it's kind of rare we get to hook up and everything. So we had a nice rare Sunday where, all right, we're both free at the same time. And okay, what are we doing? So leading into primetime TV, like, oh, hey, this is coming on tonight. This is coming on tonight. And normally, the way I do it, I just say, oh, this is coming on. This is coming on. I don't say to her, this is what we're going to watch. I say what I say the way I say it to her just to gauge her. And she was actually wanting to watch both of those shows. The WWE, what is it? WWE, I keep wanting to say WWE Hidden Treasures, but I know that's not the name of the show. WWE, give me a second here. What is it? WWE, hang on here. I'll just have to type it up. WWE, I know it's not Hidden Treasures, but it sounds like that. WWE's Most Wanted Treasures. Because I told her, I said, because we got YouTube TV. And if you missed it, I had put the tweet out right before the weekend. I said, unfortunately for YouTube TV customers, as of right now, we still do not have the network A&E. So you're going to have to go through some type of a workaround, maybe go with Hulu, Philo, Sling. That's how you're pretty much going to have to go about getting it. Discovery Plus, maybe. That's how you're going to have to go about getting it. And one of my followers, as a matter of fact, I want to give her a shout out right now. One of my followers, shout out to, where is she? Hang on. Because I know she checks out the show from time to time. Bella, shout out to Bella. Bella was like, hey, try Philo. They got a great free week trial. And if you end up liking it, it's only going to cost you $20. And hey, you'll be able to check out A&E. I'm like, okay, cool. So my girl was on top of this. She was like, why don't you go check out this? Why don't you go check out this network? Check out this joint. Sign up for this. I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, cool. And she's like, yeah, just try it for the trial and, watch what you need to watch. If you end up liking it, we'll talk about it. I'm like, okay, cool. So we ended up watching the Stone Cold biography. She came away respecting Steve Austin a lot more. I didn't really learn too much. I just remember in real time when it came to Steve Austin facing The Rock at WrestleMania 19, I just remember hearing some rumblings, and one of our friends, oh God, what was his name? DeWaco. I mean, he was big into going in wrestling forums and all that. He told us that he had heard some rumblings that maybe Steve Austin had a heart attack or something. And we were like, what? Like, Steve Austin, heart attack? Like, please. Like, man, look at him. Like, and he's like, nah, he's like, I'm telling you, like legit, like, hearing rumblings that something was going on with him. Like, he had a heart attack or something. And I'm like, well, if the man had a heart attack or something, there's just no way they would allow him to like do this match. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And like I told my girl, like, you just would have, if you weren't able to experience Rock, Stone Cold, WrestleMania 19, if you weren't able to experience it that first go round, watching it live in real time and everything, those that are veteran wrestling fans can tell you, and they'll definitely back you up on what I'm about to say, which is classic matchup. Classic. But post-match, when The Rock was just spending that time, he pushed the referee, and he's spending that time, and he's having that intimate moment talking with Steve Austin. Now you're looking at that, and you're trying to process that. We're late in our teens. We're looking at that moment in real time, and we're like, yeah, Rocky just showing his boy respect. Like, all right, cool. But then just the way Rock was just so quick to leave the ring afterwards, and then we just home in on Steve Austin. And then it was just kind of right in that moment where, you're kind of like, what's going on here? And it was weird because what was starting off as a great ovation after the match was over, everybody's just reacting to it, how much they had enjoyed it and everything. And Steve Austin is left in the ring by himself and everything. The Rock music, it eventually gets cut off. and Steve Austin is just there in the ring, laying on his back. He eventually comes to his feet and everything. The crowd starts to kind of die down a little bit. And as we're all watching this in real time, we're trying to process what's going on here. We're looking at, again, real time. We weren't as smartened up like we are now. You got now a gazillion fucking podcasts and dirt sheets and all kinds of other shit all out there. But there was almost a awkward silence amongst the crowd and those of us that were watching in real time as we were trying to process what we just saw here. And it didn't really dawn on us until Steve Austin started to go up the ramp. And I remember this, no bullshit. I remember saying this because, as always, we were doing our little WrestleMania get-together parties and everything. And I just remember being amongst the first in our clique to say, he's done. And, I remember my friends looked at me. They're like, nah. I'm like, no, he's done. Like, you sure? I'm like, he's done. Can't you tell? Like, he's done. We don't seen him for the last time. And I remember DeWaco. He's like, remember DeWaco? He kind of, heart attack. And DeWaco, he's like, yeah, he's done. And there's like this quietness, awkward quietness that's going on, and we're just looking. And then it kind of just really sets in motion that, like, yeah. And then even the crowd, the same way we were thinking, the crowd is now kind of, he's done, isn't he? And then it just starts to become this great ovation, this great celebration of a career for Steve Austin. And to go into Monday Night Raw the very next night, and the way the Steve Austin character pretty much was written off of TV and everything, that was just kind of, wow. But, for me, hearing about the whole heart attack thing, it was nice to get more clarity from that standpoint, what was going on with Steve Austin. He had drunk so much fucking coffee. He had so many fucking energy drinks, which is a big no-no. You really should not be fucking chain drinking them sons of bitches, because you're just asking for a world of hurt. He dehydrated himself so fucking badly. Didn't get proper sleep that he just, he was putting himself in some dangerous territory there. On top of a fucking panic attack and a whole bunch of other shit. So that was nice to hear, because that for me was the one area over the years that kind of seemed a little bit murky and everything. Another thing that I felt was kind of definitive is as far as Steve Austin ever getting back into the ring. And that was the one thing that was very eye-opening was, that pile driver that he took from Owen Hart. Yes, it bruised his spine, but as he had talked about, while he was healing and everything, he was on fire. He felt that fire pretty much going into, his shoulders, going into his arms. And I believe he even had talked about how he had spread it to one of his legs, basically. And I still remember that footage that they showed during the biography where, and I don't know why, but it was important for them to mention 2020 for some reason in the upper corner. 2020, they're showing him making himself some breakfast. And he talks about how, once in a while, like it happens regularly, basically, but, his limb basically will start to go kind of numb, and you're hearing all of this and you're going, wait, that's what the guy I grew up on idolizing and all that, that made it so cool to be bald and everything. Like, this is what he's dealing with. And it was nice to hear him say, hey, I'm not complaining. If I had to do it all over again, I would, I feel good. But just to hear some of those things that's been happening to him from a physical standpoint and everything, basically, him listening to his body and getting out at the time when he did, because just imagine if he would have been a stubborn horse and he would have continued on, he would have caused even more further damage to his body. So the fact that he got out when he did, it was damn good timing. It was damn good timing because I don't know, that, or just if Owen Hart would have been just off even more with that fucking pile driver, Austin may be in a fucking wheelchair right now. He may be another fucking draws, So, hearing about what was going on with him physically, that definitively just really put that bookmark in my mind that as far as that's weird. That as far as a comeback return goes, you could pretty much forget about it. He did talk about how Vince McMahon over the years, tried to talk him into coming back for a match and all that. And I just like how Steve Austin has pretty much stuck to his guns and said, no, it's like, we do this great comeback. I do about 3 to 5 months of working out, all of that, getting myself ready for just one match. And then, I totally respect him for just, and now it's just basically gotten to a point where it's like, he's not even harassed. It's not even asked of him if he wants to come. It's just, that's great. That's great. He didn't have a plan B. He did not have a plan B. So to spend all the time that he was doing post wrestling, trying to find himself, trying to find that new passion and everything, I'm glad that he's now been able to make peace with himself, but I'm also glad that he's been able to find that second life for himself after wrestling. And look, as far as the podcasting goes, he's definitely been phenomenal at it. I enjoy what he does with the Broken Skull sessions, even though sometimes now he seems to be more looser, more candid, when he's doing these conversations with his guests and everything. But there's been a few times, early on where it just seemed kind of, all right, so tell me. So you like making your cheeseburger? All right, so when you're in the kitchen, all right, you wake up, you get out to bed, right? Get out to bed, you brush your teeth, right? Wash your face, put on deodorant. I imagine you got to put on a deodorant, make sure you don't stink, right? Hey, you get yourself on downstairs after you let the dog out. That's when you start to get cooking, right? All right, so what do you grab when you're there in the pantry? You grab the soap. What do you use? Tell me, what do you use when it comes? Don't bullshit me, son. What do you do when it comes to making your burger? I'm just picturing him, just, now he just seems to be more just, okay, this is good. It's not too exaggerated now and all of that shit. So he's found his calling. He really has. He's found his fucking calling. So it was good, but I really didn't learn anything new because it's kind of like one of those Chris Hardballs, tell me something I don't know, right? And for me, other than those two areas I talked about earlier, I really didn't learn anything new. But you know what? It was so well produced, and I liked how essentially, if you had missed the first rodeo of Steve Austin, telling his story and all that, because for those of us that essentially lived through it in real time, unless there's some new little nuances, it's like, yeah, been there, done that, right? But for that newer fan that's trying to understand, yeah, what happened with Steve Austin there? He still looks like he can go. It was good. Now I'm looking forward to seeing the joint on Roddy Piper. And I don't think it's come out yet, but there is supposed to be a Roddy Piper biography, like a 2-3 hour joint. I'm not talking about the joint on A&E, but there's a Roddy Piper story that's been in development now for a couple of years. I know there was the autobiography book that came out about his life and all that Till Piper and her brother, they pretty much did. They wrapped it up, posthumously for their father and everything. But there was also a documentary that was in the works, not from A&E, because I remember Rob Feinstein of our video. He talked about, I want to say it was last year or maybe the year prior. He talked about how he had to sign off on the release of an interview he had did that was going to be included for this documentary about Piper's life. So I'm most curious to see this A&E version, because I'm definitely I want to check out the other joint that's still in the works. That's been in the works for a couple of years now, so I want to see that and compare it to what A&E is going to be doing. But a good start to the series. I gotta say, good start to the series. Love seeing the spots there with Vince McMahon talking. Mick Foley got a lot of camera time talking about Steve Austin there. That was good shit. Triple H talking as well. I will say this much. I didn't realize how isolated Steve Austin was in his career. Here's a guy that's pretty much just learning about the business all on his own. He's trying to smarten himself up to the business and everything. You feel where I'm coming from? So I thought all of that was just very interesting. I enjoyed that. The WWE, I keep forgetting the name, Most Wanted Treasures. It's going to take me a while because I keep thinking Hidden Treasures. WWE's Most Wanted Treasures. Good series. I'm usually not into stuff like that, but it kind of gave me a vibe of Hardcore Pawn, if you guys remember that show. I used to love the fuck out of Hardcore Pawn. Great series with Les and his son and daughter, and they're just constantly going back and forth with each other and shit. It kind of gave me, to a degree, a little bit of elements of that. I thought that was a very good series. I like that they pretty much got it up and rolling with Mick Foley. And who's the co-host of his? Hang on. Francis, hang on here. AJ Francis. Good kid. Apparently this is a dude that's in training to be a wrestler, but he's also serving as, Mick's co-host and wingman during this journey of the first episode. They were going down and trying to find these ancient relics of Mick Foley's. It was pretty fucking cool. They went to one guy, GCW, I think was his name. No, GWC, Greatest Wrestling Collector. They went to this guy's house, and he was truly the definition of a bona fide cool fan, because they went to his house. Mick Foley was on a hunt for a authentic Mr. Sacco. And I love the history that they gave about the Sacco joints, and how there basically was like two versions running around. There's like one version running around that was from the WWE props guy, and Mick Foley's version. And Mick Foley talked about how he can spot a fake. He knows the WWE prop guy's version. I can't remember the guy's name right now. I think it might have been Rich, but he knows Rich's Mr. Sacco when he sees it versus his. And that was just cool how he gave you the rundown and all that. But when they went to GWC's house and, you see his collection, you're going, wow, badass. And it came time for them to do business. GWC didn't want no money. GWC wasn't trying to do no little hostage, little bullshit situation. GWC pretty much was saying, okay, you know what? I'll give it to you, but, I don't want much in return. I'm not asking for money or anything like that. Just, if you could maybe hang out with my kids. And Mick Foley was like, sure, no problem. And I mean, that was totally kick-ass. I love that. That GWC dude, he was totally fucking cool. And then the other guy, the last guy's house that they went to, that had the very first Mankind shirt from what we saw of Mick in WWE as Mankind. That was just, whoa. That was badass. He basically let the vest go in exchange for some money and a viewing party with Mick Foley. Any pay-per-view that guy wants to watch, basically, that guy, friends and family, Mick Foley will be there. And Mick Foley was talking about it on Facebook. I don't know if you guys follow him on Facebook, but he said all that you saw that went down, these were real collectors. The deals that were made, 100% legit. He's yet to do the viewing party with that last guy, but the one that really was just my crawl, that was just irritating me and was kind of pissing me off, was the David guy. And they go to the David guy's house, and the David guy, he's got this collection. All his shit is mostly in boxes, basically what he wants to look at. He cherry picks and puts up on display and everything, but mostly everything is in boxes. And they were at his house for the flannel shirt. Yeah, they were at his house for the flannel shirt. And there was a flannel shirt that he was able to obtain. I can't remember the story behind it, but Mick wore it quite a few times. And when Mick was trying to get the vest, dude wasn't trying to let it go. And you're like, are you serious? And the only thing this guy can pretty much come up with is, oh, if I give you this is going to hurt the overall value of my collection. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, what are you, in your 30s? Early 40s? You got kids? They're eventually going to be going to college and all this other shit. Like, you can't take all this shit with you when you're dead, my dude. So what are we going to do here? I mean, he was a tough cookie. The fact that, Mick was like, okay, get you a tour of the WWE warehouse, where we got a whole bunch of cool relics, maybe we can trade you. I'm like, wait, we're going to take him to the Holy Grail? So not only do they take him to the Holy Grail, but basically, this dude, he finds what he wants. I did not agree with it. And there were a decent amount of people that didn't agree either. But he coughed up the vest in exchange for another piece of Cactus Jack memorabilia. It was the Cactus Jack 2x4 that was used at No Way Out 2000. Cactus Jack taking on Triple H. So he wanted that in exchange for the vest. And he wanted $2,500. I'm thinking to myself, fuck no. And I couldn't believe Ben, the WWE archivist, I couldn't believe he agreed to this fucking deal. He's talking about some, I want to do this with you because, I want to continue to maintain a relationship with you. And I'm thinking to myself, no, what are you talking about? Like, Ben, what the fuck? I mean, I felt it was a bad move because honestly what should have happened was, we're talking about a piece of relic from 20 years ago. No Way Out 2000, that infamous match between Cactus Jack and Triple H. And it wasn't even signed. I'm thinking to myself, fuck that. Have Triple H sign that bitch. Have Mick Foley sign that bitch. Man, that's like double, triple the fucking money right there for that fucking Foley flannel vest. I just didn't get that. That just rubbed me the wrong way. There's a few people that did not like David. They felt he was a very shrewd businessman when it was all said and done. But those were two awesome shows. It was good. Two awesome shows. So yeah, those were good. I did watch the newest episode of Unsung on TV1. They had talked about rapper Mystikal. Mystikal, that was my boy back in the day. Now look, I'm not going to even lie to you guys. I did not have Mystikal's first two albums, which was the self-titled from 1994 and then Mind of Mystikal from 95. I didn't have those two albums. I came in on the rest of the albums though. I came in on 97's Unpredictable, 98's Ghetto Fabulous, Let's Get Ready to Rumble 2000, and 2001's Tarantula. I came in on those albums. And Mystikal, that was my boy back in the day, man. That was my boy. Danger! The ninjas right here. I can't say the real word, it's like I ain't trying to get flagged. Like, The ninja's right here, you know. And then, of course, my favorite all-time fucking song, fucking Shake Your Ass. You know, that one, they man, I'm telling you, trying to hear that on the radio back in the day. Yo, listening to that song on the radio back in the day, that shit was edited so fucking much. It wasn't even funny, man, because like you just kept hearing a bunch of fucking, okay, I'm trying to hear this song, but like, and I'm trying to enjoy it, but he keeps getting bleeped, you know. It's like, shake your ass, watch yourself, shake your ass, show me what you're working with, shake your ass, watch yourself, shake your ass. I came in with my dick in my hand. I mean, I'm telling you, that's like that's the way you open up a song. You open up that jar. I came in with my dick in my hand. Don't make me leave here with my foot in your ass. Be cool. Don't worry about how I'm ripping this shit. When I'm flipping, when kicking, ninjas. That's just what I do. I'm like, oh, I could go through more of those lyrics. But like that's all I'm gonna do, man. You know, bend over, ho. Show me what you're working with. Shake your ass. Watch yourself. Neptune's classical little instrumental beat, man. I fuck with Mystikal. His story was good. You know, if there's one thing I had learned about Mystikal's Unsung episode, it was, here is a guy that has dealt with such great adversity. Where do you even want to start when it comes to the adversity? Do you begin with how him and his sister were pretty much coming up and they pretty much were there for each other, and when they were growing up as kids, they dealt with a abusive stepfather, so abusive that moms just one day decided, okay, look, you know, let's get in this car and we just gonna drive. We just gonna go. We're gonna go visit your aunt. And visiting that aunt, that pretty much had turned into, you know, like 20 years later, right? 20 years later, that's what it turned to. Like, so that was one hell of a visit when it's all said and done. But, you know, when you talk about adversity, okay, so you got an abusive parent. Before that, you had a father that pretty much really wasn't in the picture because he was a military guy. No, I might have my dads mixed up. I'm sorry. It might have been the stepdad that was the military dad. But the original dad, you know, the true baby daddy, you know, wasn't there in the picture at all, right? So that pretty much, all right. So you had to overcome that. Now you got to overcome a abusive dad. So, you know, you go to New Orleans. You're supposed to be visiting your aunt, but it turns into 20 years later, okay? You had to overcome the death of your sister. Here's a sister that was very instrumental in his rap career early on. And man, as you know, right before this guy's even about to drop his first album, his sister gets killed. I mean, she is murdered. And the motherfucker that did it gets acquitted. So now this man has to fight from within, you know, that urge to, I will take justice by my own hands. Right, man, you really want to do that? Like, okay, so had to overcome that. Wanted more structure in his life. He decides, okay, I'm going to go into the military. Then he realizes, oh shit, what the fuck did I sign up for? I mean, all of this, my timeline is a little bit out of order, but his sister was still alive when he went into the military and all that. But when he came back, he pretty much had decided, okay, I want to get back into this music thing. But again, before he was even able to put out his first album, his sister was murdered. So somehow he had to, you know, take that negative and, you know, endure it and try to push forward. You know, a lot of promise there in those first couple of albums that he dropped. But, you know, as many of us know that follow rap and everything, it really wasn't until signing up with Master P and No Limit Records and everything that's when Mystikal had really got put on the map and everything. I'll tell you something else too. I remember another joint. Before I even touched any of Mystikal's albums, I remember the very first time I had heard Mystikal. One of the first times I had heard Mystikal, it was actually on a Busta Rhymes collaboration. Now, granted, when you think about, home in on this now, when you think about the year that Mystikal had put out some of his albums, remember some of those dates that I just told you of what he had put out. But I remember Mystikal teaming up with Busta Rhymes, extension level event. And they were rapping fast like a motherfucker on that song. It was like listening to two fucking legendary fucking, I mean, these guys were just, I mean, that joint was fire. The beat, all that shit was good, man. All that shit was fucking good. ELE, extension level event, the final world front from 1998. If you've never listened to that album before, go back. I mean, critically acclaimed. That is like today. It still holds up this very day. It's still a fucking classic fucking album, man. I'm trying to figure out what the name of that joint is with him and I'm looking at my album right now. Is They Wildin' With Us and Getting Rowdy With Us. That's the name of it. Damn fucking, I mean, best 3 minutes of fucking beats and fast rapping you'll ever hear in your entire life. And remember when this album dropped. This album had dropped in 1998. And like I said, I didn't get a chance to ever, like as we stand right now tonight, I never got a chance to listen to Mystikal's first two albums for whatever respected reason. Like, your guess is as good as mine, but after watching Unsung, I'm definitely going to change that shit, and I'm definitely going to check out the earlier shit. But that little collaboration with Busta Rhymes, it was like, wait a minute, damn, who is this dude that I'm listening to? And to say that he reminds you like of a rap version of James Brown, I agree with that. That is a great way to describe Mystikal and how he fucking sings on his joints. It's a damn good point. But yeah, by the time I had heard Is They Wildin' With Us, it was like, who is this dude? And then that pretty much made me backtrack and check out his Unpredictable album. And then I pretty much from like that point on, yeah, because it was the first two albums. Was the first two albums or three albums? I'm trying to think. It was the first two or three albums I didn't check out of Mystikal's. I know the first two for sure. Let me think about it. Actually, no. Yeah, first three albums of Mystikal I didn't check out. Ghetto Fabulous On, I had those albums. So yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if you had told me that a couple of months later, Mystikal's joint had came out after he did that appearance on Busta Rhymes' joint. But the sexual battery assaults, man, that for me just, and I remember being a fan in real time, hearing about that shit. Like, wait, Mystikal did what? With who? And then you heard some bullshit about, well, not bullshit, but the story was that apparently a woman was cheating him out of money. She was skimming the books, and kind of going under the table, basically kind of pulling like a Serena. Selena. I didn't mean to say Serena. Selena. She was basically pulling a Selena. And, Mystikal was trying to get law enforcement involved in all that. And apparently he and his boys decided they were gonna rape this girl as punishment. I mean, you kind of hear that and you like, wait, what? Something don't sound right. Of course, he ended up doing a couple of years for that. He gets out and you're like, okay, all right, the man's back. The ninja's right here. He about to do it. rinse, repeat, pretty much goes through the same shit again. And you're like, wait, what's going on here? All of that just, now he had a last round of, another case of, some kind of sexual battery assault or some shit. And apparently, it got to a point where maybe it was going to go to trial, but some new evidence and shit was discovered, and it basically was decided there wasn't sufficient evidence to go to trial, get that guilty verdict on Mystikal, so charges were dropped. But a large chunk of his career, he really is unsung, because when you look at him at his pinnacle, at the pinnacle of his career, I mean, if it wasn't for the trouble there with the law, forget about it. Forget about it. I mean, he seemed to have that nice, steady hand. I mean, the shit that he was putting out was fire. The collaborations he was putting out with folks was fire. Like I had tweeted after I watched his episode, here I am all these years later. I'm still waiting for another Mystikal album. And legit, I mean that, because I'm very curious to know what a Mystikal album would sound like in 2021 and beyond. I'm very curious what a Mystikal album would sound like, because think about it, the last album he put out, 2001. So that's some significant time to go by. So just think about that. Turning heads, mid-90s, going into the early 2000s. And I mean, his finger was on the fucking pulse of the rap game. I mean, this guy, years ahead of his time, man. I mean, everything that you see that's going on with Ludacris, man, that's a really good example. When I look at a guy like Ludacris, when I look at a guy like Ice-T, when I look at Ice Cube, Mystikal had all the greatest potential in the world to be following right in those footsteps. But because of some, I don't know what you call it. You could say bad choices from the standpoint of who you align yourself with, who you have be your friends and associates, whole bunch of other shit, and just poor decision making. At some point you do have to take some type of self-accountability. It was nice to hear him say, why would I do that to some woman? Come on, man. I got 2 daughters of my own. I got daughters of my own. Why would I do that to somebody? And I'm trying to set an example for my girls. Why would I do that? It's like, okay, that's a damn good point, brother. But at the same time, man, this shit keeps resurfacing. First go round, it's like, okay, yeah, it comes with the territory, okay, all right. But then when you get a second, a third, a fourth incident, then you just can't help but go, really, what's going on here? I really hope that any demons, whatever, I really hope that he's able to, because, nobody would blame him if, because when you watch this episode of Unsung, you go, oh, wow, so he watched his dad, stepdad or whatever, abuse his mom, and Lord only knows what probably had happened to the kids, right? So kids are very impressionable at that young age, as we all know, monkey see, monkey do. So if in some shape or form that, what's the right word I'm looking for? If that passed along, if those negative traits passed along to him, only he truly knows the definitive answer to that. I just hope that this man is able to just take care of those demons, exorcise them out of his system once and for all. It was kind of sad to hear how he's been laying low, not spending time with his daughters, not even spending time with his mom, because of all of this latest shit that was going on with him. Yeah, because I don't know if you guys heard about it, but it was like back in 2017, he had turned himself in to the sheriff's department because there was a warrant issued for his arrest, and he was charged with rape, and he was held at the Cattle Correctional Center on a $3 million bond. Since he didn't have the money to, raise to get that $3 million bond, he pretty much stayed at that correctional facility for a couple of years. It wasn't until 2019 when he was able to post the bond. And then December of 2020 is when the rape charges were dismissed due to lack of evidence. So, all this shit that's gone down in his life has cost him a good chunk of his best years, because now he's 50. Head scratcher, just head scratching, but all the best to that brother. Other than that, God, look at the time, man. We don't did like about a 3-hour, 15-minute show. I mean, we don't fucking came back with a goddamn vengeance over here. I'd say on that note, we could definitely go ahead and we can end the show. There was a lot to talk about, though, right? I mean, enjoy this deluxe episode for what it's worth. It's not going to always be this deluxed, but enjoy for what it's worth. You guys had yourself a good time. I'm going to have a fun time, by the way, putting its timestamps to this later in post-production. I actually got to pick the brain of a couple of buddies and figure out how I can do little timestamps as I'm recording going forward. I usually like to go in and listen and seek that way, put in my timestamps and all that. But it's going to be a lot quicker since I didn't have a false start. But if you guys had enjoyed yourselves, and I hope you guys did, please make sure you go out of your way if you haven't done so already, and you subscribe, you hit that like button, let other folks know you enjoyed yourself. Click that bell notification, let everybody know that you represented, man. You click that bell notification, you making sure that you get all those notifications of upcoming episodes. All right, so here's what's going to be going on for the rest of the week. Tuesday, I'm going to be back after NWA Power goes off the air. I'm actually going to be live. I'll be reacting to the newest episode of NWA Power. It's not Power Surge. That's going to be with us this Tuesday. NWA Power, regular Power, is back. So I'll be covering fallout from that, giving my reactions to that. Those of you that's going to be expecting me to talk about some other shit, all I'm going to be talking about is NWA Power. So if that's not your cup of tea, then Wednesday, check out the RCWR Show. I'll be talking NXT Fallout. I'll also be talking AEW Dynamite Fallout. We'll also sprinkle in any latest wrestling headline, little tidbits, non-wrestling little tidbits. So tune in for that. That should be good. And meantime, be kind, rewind, check out previous episodes of the RCWR Show you may have missed on demand and on the downloads wherever you get your podcasts. You can get at me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Use the keywords, the RCWR Show. I did tease earlier that I would offer some thoughts about the Chauvin case. This isn't long-winded, so if you guys, you want to hear my thoughts, now that the jury has pretty much been allowed to go into deliberation and everything, I will say this. If this were to end in a mistrial, a hung jury, that's all I got to say. That is all I got to say. I remember living in Los Angeles during the LA riots, and that was not good. Let me tell you, that was not good whatsoever. Okay? We could be looking at another one of those type of deals if you ask me straight up, Lee, what do you think, man? What do you think is going to go down? Guilty verdict. And not because the jurors are going to be intimidated. I don't think they're gonna vote because they fear that if they go the other way, that truly believe they're going to do their job. They're going to follow the facts. They're going to follow all the evidence. I just believe and that's the thing. I haven't done like some people. I haven't been hours upon hours looking at the testimony. I usually just catch the highlights on my 11 o'clock nightly news, or I'll watch the 11th hour with Brian Williams, and I'll pretty much get the little recaps that way. But just based on what the prosecution has been able to accumulate so far, they got themselves a slam dunk fucking case. If you're the defense, I mean, where you fucked up, look, I'll say this, where you fucked up, if you're the defense, why are you allowing to be administered in court, testimony about, George Floyd and the testimony that, oh, he was a sweet man, he was my brother, and I'm just hypothetically speaking, this didn't happen, but just, as you can see, he was a great, jazz musician. He opened up for Bob Skaggs and Boney James. And it's like, why is this admissible in court? You're supposed to be objecting. The defensive lawyer, he just comes off like a motherfucker you just got out of damn Cracker Jack box. And I don't mean cracker as in white. I literally mean a Cracker Jack box. Right? It wasn't a racial thing, so please, people, don't take it personal. I literally mean just a Cracker Jack box, and not everything is banging with Cracker Jacks. Let's be honest, right? You try to go in there for the toy, but half the damn time the toy is shit. I just felt like he was he's a great value lawyer. It's slam dunk. It is slam dunk. I think the real question that the nation needs to be asking themselves is, will this hold up even on an appeal? That's what we need to be more focused on. I have a feeling that it's going to be a guilty verdict. Like, I feel it in my bones. And I usually don't tell folks, bet on it. But in this instance, I truly, truly, truly feel it's going to be a guilty verdict. And let me tell you, I would be shocked as fuck if it was a mistrial or a hung jury. I really, really would. Because all you need is just that one juror to have that reasonable doubt. To say, nah, but what about, you just need that one juror. I don't think they even got that one juror. So keeping all of that in mind, that's my position. You can let me know what you think in the comments and get at me on social media, but that's where I stand on that. Any more, if they have a reaction this week while, we're still scheduled to do some more shows, I'll definitely sound off about the verdict and everything. But honestly, I'm not expecting for anything to happen until maybe like as we get ready to go into the weekend. I know on the next Wrestling with the Topics, by then we'll have a verdict, which will drop this weekend. I know me and the missus will definitely, give our thoughts about the case a lot more and just everything that's going on. But yeah, but let me know what you guys think. All right, get at me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Use the keywords, the RCWR Show. And until next go around, wishing all of you all to be safe and most importantly, be kind to one another. I will see you next go around. Adios. Great to be back with you all. Catch you for NWA Power this Tuesday. Everybody else, Dynamite, NXT coverage, post-show Wednesday. Peace.